The setting is the Classic Center in downtown Athens, Georgia, and the event is a seminal moment in hockey history at the University of Georgia. After nearly 30 years of waiting, hockey has finally come home. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Tingle, joined tonight in the broadcast booth by John Morgo as we get set for a huge event. It's more than a game, it's a full-on event, as the Georgia Ice Dogs get set to take on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets in the first ever hockey game played in Athens city limits. We have a full capacity crowd here at the Classic Center here tonight for what's going to be 60 minutes of absolute end-to-end action, John.
And that's exactly what all the fans here are hoping for from these two teams. Hockey Night in Georgia is another way to term this. We haven't had this in a couple of years, but the facility here is absolutely stunning, absolutely electric. They've done a great job here. We are at the Classic Center in Athens, just about a block away from the north end of the UGA campus. And this is a modified exhibition hall that they have converted into a full-on hockey rink.
They've added telescoping seats to the tune of 2,100 seats. They also have standing room only seats and a full VIP section. This is something that anyone who has played for the Ice Dogs, anyone who's worked with the Ice Dogs or has been associated with this team has waited for so long. This team was established in 1987, 27 years of ice hockey at the University of Georgia, and we've played our games at the Ice Forum in Duluth, which is a 47-mile trip. And it's not just the games, it's the practices, it's most of the events. You've got these young student athletes loading up the SUVs 5 at a time to go out there and practice at midnight, doing the 94-mile round-trip journey, coming back at 2 o'clock in the morning. And that is all becoming a thing of the past because of this beautiful new facility here in Athens, Georgia.
Exactly, and a lot of the games had to take place at midnight because, as I was joking with a couple of friends of mine, they had to wait for the Pee-wees to get done with the ice. When you go to Duluth, when you go to the Ice Center in Cumming, part of the other facilities that this team has used, facility down over in Savannah, they played down there. They have played everywhere except here in Athens city limits. A definite turning point in this program as UGA tries to raise its profile, and they're going to try to put on a little bit of an exhibition as, again, these teams wound up their regular season, maybe about a little under 2 months ago. And this will be the rubber game of the match between Georgia Tech and the Ice Dogs. Jackets won back on January 18th by a score of 9-3. Bulldogs took this rematch at the Ice Center in Cumming, technically a home match for Georgia, to a tune of 7-3. So these two teams know each other. We're going to have a lot of hard-hitting action, especially out of the gate, as both teams try to set the tempo.
Absolutely, and of course, Georgia rocked Georgia Tech 9-3 in the Savannah Tire Classic back in January to clinch second place in that outstanding tournament out there. And these are two teams that certainly know a lot about each other. But first, while we have a few minutes before we get you to our public address announcer for full starting lineups, we've got a ceremonial puck drop. The mayor of Athens is here on hand for that. We want to remind you that tonight's broadcast is brought to you by the UGA Hockey Booster Club. For more information or to join the UGA Hockey Booster Club, go online to UGAHockeyFoundation.com. And it's also brought to you by Ameritrans, safely taking you the distance. Well, for those who might not follow college hockey all that closely, we'll give you a little bit of background about what you're going to see here tonight. This is not NCAA hockey. This is ACHA, which is a tier below NCAA. It's not varsity. It's not quite club. It is non-varsity hockey is what it is, which means that while there is funding which is received to the team by the university, that funding is severely limited. This is instead a situation where we have the team which is going to be funded largely by boosters, by a lot of the ticket sales, merchandise sales, and a lot of that cost of having to go out there and play does indeed come out of the pockets of these young student athletes by the nature of what this is.
I think this facility will pay for itself in terms of the gas money that will not be spent now going back and forth, shuttling back and forth to Duluth. That's why this facility is so important, because that is a big expense that no longer this team will have to shoulder.
No, absolutely. And again, the community has rallied around this. We have a full capacity crowd, and this game was sold out a full month ahead of time, which shows you the passion and the excitement that this university brings to all of their sports. Even though it's not a necessarily a varsity sport, it is a non-varsity sport. Still, the community comes out here to support this team at everything that they do. And yesterday at the Select a Seat function that they had, they sold over 100 season tickets to next year's full slate of games, and it's going to be a big slate, 20 full home games right here at the Classic Center.
And it's so important for that to be released because now the fans know, okay, there's definitely going to be hockey here. It is happening. That will happen. It'll kick off Saturday, September 20th when the Florida Gators come to town. And they've done what I feel is very smart. A couple of these dates, they'll coincide with football games. For instance, on Saturday, September 27th, after Tennessee and Georgia plays right down the way at Sanford Stadium, their hockey teams, their club hockey teams will be going at it right here. And that is going to be an impetus for the fans to stay around, to spend more. It's going to be a big boon to the community.
Well, they've dimmed the lights here at the Classic Center, and right now on the Jumbotron, they're showing a special statement from Georgia head coach John Hoos. This is, as we mentioned, an absolute seminal event for this Georgia hockey team, and absolutely the opportunity for him to get here and address the fans who showed up here from the get-go. This is something John's been with this team for a full 15 seasons. He's seen a lot of the ups, and he's seen a lot of the downs, certainly over the course of his time here, but his passion for this team and for this school is absolutely never-ending.
And this is a big moment for him, so let's listen into this statement.
It is the tradition of Georgia Bulldogs athletic excellence that we ask you, our fans, to become part of the Georgia hockey family, to get behind our team, cheer on our players, and I ask you to join me in saying it's a great day for hockey.
There you have it, the opening statement from Georgia head coach John Hoos. We are just a few minutes away from dropping the puck for the first ever hockey game here in Athens, Georgia. Let's tell you more about our combatants here tonight. Georgia and Georgia Tech, two teams that, well, quite frankly, they have a long history of hockey excellence. Georgia has been around for 27 years. Georgia Tech is celebrating their 40th year of collegiate ice hockey, and these are two teams that have had their fair share of success as well. In 2000, Georgia Tech played for the national championship in Annapolis, Maryland, losing to the Butler Bulldogs. And in 2004, the Georgia Bulldogs, they played for the national championship, losing to Calvin College out in Tempe, Arizona, in what was an absolutely memorable national championship tournament that saw huge wins over teams like Penn State, Arizona State, Wyoming. I'll never forget the shootout victory against Penn State that got them into the national championship game, where the arena was so quiet in Tempe you could absolutely hear a pin drop. These are two teams that have had a lot of success in the past, and both are currently going through a bit of a rebuilding process. Georgia 7-11-2 on the season, just 1-7 in the SEC Hockey Conference. And for those of you who are curious about who's in the SEC Hockey Conference, it's all but 4 teams from what you know in the conventional SEC. There's no Texas A&M, there's no Missouri, there's no Kentucky, and there's no LSU. As for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, they were 12-12 on the season, 12-12-2 should I say, with a couple of shootout losses in there. And again, not a great season by either team standard, but again, they are building for the future both in Athens and in Atlanta as the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets take to the ice in preparation of the starting lineups, which we are just moments away from.
Exactly. Again, you said it yourself. I mean, the SEC East, 5 teams. We're missing the Missouri, missing the Kentucky. Although I know you said LSU is not in this, but LSU, I think, are they going to be bringing a team?
That's something which I believe is on the table right now. The thing about the ACHA is that there's 3 different divisions, and currently both these teams play at the lowest division, which is the 3rd division. And Georgia Tech does not play in the ACC Hockey Conference, and the reason for that is because, well, the ACC Hockey Conference is Division II. That's where you'll find your Virginias. That's where you'll find your Wake Forest, and a few names you might not expect to find in the ACC Hockey Conference, like the Elon Phoenix.
Right. I was just mentioning because I'm looking at this Ice Dogs home schedule, and I see Friday, October 3rd, LSU's coming. So
great to have them on the schedule, that's for sure. And as you mentioned, I'm sure that has something to do piggybacking with what's going on with the Georgia football team. We are just moments away from puck drop here at the Classic Center in Athens, Georgia tonight. Mike Tingle joined by John Morgo for what is going to be a great, fun evening and the beginning of something truly special for this Georgia hockey team. If you'd like to reach out to us over the course of the broadcast, we'll try a little bit of Twitter tonight. You can do a little hashtag of UGA hockey, or you can tweet directly at myself, Mike_Tingle, or John_Morgo, and we'll do our best to answer any questions, anything you might have over the course of the broadcast. ACHA Division III hockey. That's something not a lot of people know a whole lot about. There's actually 150 teams that compete at the Division III level, and the current national champions are actually the current 3-time national champions. It's the Adrian College Bulldogs up in Adrian, Michigan, and that is a school that, quite frankly, has done a better job than just about anyone in marrying non-varsity with varsity. If you go to their athletic page, you'll find the ACHA non-varsity hockey team along with their varsity sports. That's not something which you'll currently find at Georgia or at Georgia Tech, but that's something which hopefully will start to change at some point in the near future.
And it all starts right here. This is the, as you said, the seminal moment, a building block. And maybe if things go the way that Coach Hoos wants it to, maybe that will be the next step, the next growth step. But right now he's focused on beating Georgia Tech and making sure that the inaugural game in this building is a successful one for the Red and Black.
We mentioned Coach Hoos, the 15-year leader of the Georgia Ice Dogs. He's assisted by Gus Sampinari in his 4th season, and Steve Beneke, part of the old guard, his 12th season with these Georgia Ice Dogs. And the first season assistant coach is going to be Stefan Normando. And now we're going to turn things over for our starting lineups to our public address announcer, 960 The Ref's own Chris Harris.
Home of the Ice Dogs, your University of Georgia Ice Dogs, and the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Now the starting lineups for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. In goal, number 37, Michael Klein. In defense, number 7, Alan DeGazi. In defense, number 3, Wes Roberts. At forward, number 14, Michael Sands. At forward, number 81, Nick Galley. And in center for 47, C.J. Laird. Head coach, Lance McSparrow.
Well, you heard there Brian McSparron, the 4th-year head coach of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. He's assisted by Paul Gaddung, who's in his 11th season with Georgia Tech, and also by Tom Bernicki in his 2nd season. And now here comes the entire team, the full introduction for the Georgia Ice Dogs.
It's time to meet your UGA Ice Dogs! Number 2, Dixon Farrell. Number 3, Garrett Stiles. Number 4, Jesse Slove. Number 5, Shelby Sapanori. Number 6, Clayton Libertas. Number 8, Austin Shin. Number 9, David Bacon. Number 11, Alex French. Number 13, Ryan Bogowski. Number 17, Brendan Sexton. Number 18, Michael Falkenstein. Number 19, Alex Witchell. Number 20, Luke Dixon. Number 35, Grant Schwartz. Number 35, Eric Nielsen. Number 55, Brian Gura. Number 76, Michael Stolanera. And number 78, Eric Augie.
Those are the non-starters for the Georgia Ice Dogs, and here comes the starting lineup.
University of Georgia Ice Dogs. In goal, a junior number 1, Kevin Smith. In defense, a junior number 42, Nick Carvalho. A senior defenseman, number 10, Robert Crawford. And Kaser. At center, a senior, number 12, Kyle Kidwell. And at third, a sophomore, number 7, Stephen Bray. And the head coach of your Ice Dogs, John Hughes.
We have one more special guest that we should be welcoming, and that's going to be the founder of this Georgia Ice Dog hockey team. And that would be Larry Hall, who started all of this back in 1987. I had the pleasure of being his roommate in Muskegon, Michigan, when Georgia made a run to the national championship tournament that particular year. He is an absolute pleasure, and you won't find anyone more passionate about this school or about this team than Larry Hall. Out sporting the number 16 today. I tell you something, he came out on this ice, and he was the first person out here skating. He had a puck, he had a stick. He was the only person here out on the entire ice when I walked out there, and it just brought chills to my spine to see him out there in Athens, Georgia, skating tonight. And now we're honoring our graduating seniors here for the Georgia Ice Dogs. And right now that's number 10, Robert Bradford, one of our big defensemen who is ending his tenure with the Georgia Ice Dogs.
Our next senior, number 12, Kyle Kidwell.
The second man up is Kyle Kidwell, the forward from Sewanee, Georgia. He's actually a pre-med student, so he has some great things lined up for him after his time with Georgia hockey is done. And saving perhaps the best for last, number 15, Peter Kaser, who is the absolute heart and soul of this team offensively. He has done so much to shatter records during his time at the University of Georgia. You'll find him in every single category. And we'll go over some of that a little bit later on this evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and join us.
Because at this time,
Showing appreciation for the men
it's time for the national anthem.
at home and abroad around the world to pay tribute to active duty and retired veterans. With the presentation of our colors, colors are being presented tonight by the UGA ROTC Army and Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for our national anthem performed tonight by national recording artist Alexis Hart.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and
Well, before we drop the puck, we do have one more special presentation out here, and that is going to be our ceremonial puck drop. And for that, we have some outstanding people on hand, including the mayor of Athens, Georgia, Nancy Denson. She's going to be joined by the Classic Center's executive director, Paul Kramer, Georgia head hockey coach John Hoos, and Georgia Hockey Foundation president David Brooks, all for this ceremonial puck drop coming up shortly. Before we drop the puck here in Athens, Georgia, for the very first time, as the fans are still arriving in their seats here to what's going to be a sold-out Classic Center. And this atmosphere is already absolutely electric. The student section is located currently to the left of the Georgia Tech goaltender, and it couldn't be a better location to start things off. What a great night it's going to be here tonight.
It's going to be an absolutely fabulous night. Looking forward to getting this game going on. I've actually seen a couple of people in Thrashers paraphernalia, and I see one person over there dressed like that. But yeah, this is about the first real home hockey that we've seen here in this city since the Atlanta Thrashers decamped for parts north. And it's been a beautiful day for people to come in here into this facility.
Absolutely. We all miss the Atlanta Thrashers. Fortunately, the Gwinnett Gladiators done a great job of carrying the torch for all hockey fans out there in Atlanta. Well, as we get set for the ceremonial for the first pitch for the ceremonial puck drop out there, as we continue to get ready, let's take the spotlight right now to our starting goaltenders tonight. And we'll start with the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, where we were expecting to see C.J. Lair in net, the man with the golden pads, but instead tonight, getting the start is going to be number 37, Michael Klein, a graduate student from Lawrenceville, Georgia. Looking at Klein's numbers on the season, well, you know what? He played in 11 games over the course of the season, sporting a 3-6 record and a 5.37 goals against average with a save percentage of 87. As for the Georgia Ice Dogs, in net it's going to be the junior Kevin Smith from Alpharetta, Georgia. One of the great stories of this Georgia hockey team, he actually had appendicitis. He had a swollen spleen and mononucleosis all in November of last year. He was able to come back from that in January and take over the starting job for this Georgia Ice Dog team. Taking a look at his numbers, 4-3 on the season with a 5.37 goals against average and a save percentage of 89. As now we're almost set to get things underway as the players are taking their spots on the ice. And what a feeling this is. After so many years of having to go so far to play these games, the fact that Georgia now has a true home venue just sends chills down my spine.
It is a seminal moment here today. Georgia has actually played pretty well of late. Their last regulation loss way back January 30th against South Carolina. They have, as I said, they haven't been in action since February 15th, a 5-5 tie against Life University. It was a shutout loss in overtime, 3-2, but their last two victories, one against Florida State, 10-4 on the 31st, and then the day later playing Georgia Tech at the ice and beating them 7-3. So they are playing well as of late.
Wesley Roberts is out there in the face-off circle for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. The Ice Dogs still skating in circles, and it looks like it's going to be number 12, Kyle Kidwell, who takes the draw for the Georgia Bulldogs. Kidwell, the largest player on the team for Georgia, 6'5", 205 pounds from Sewanee. As now the officials are checking the clock, and we are just seconds away from getting things underway. This is a very cold rink that we have here tonight. The ice is being kept around 16 degrees here this evening. That means it's going to be a very fast rink. And as you said earlier, both these teams are going to be very physical from the word go as they try to set the pace, to try to set the tempo, to try to, if you're Georgia Tech, to try to get the crowd out of the game. And if you're Georgia, you want to be that first player that goes out there and drops that big hit against the full capacity crowd here at the Classic Center on their feet.
Georgia Tech comes in with a 13-12 record. They beat Florida State Sunday, February 9th by a tally of 8-6. Before that, they lost their last two, 7-3 Georgia, and then a 6-3 loss against Clemson.
In case you're watching from our video feed, Georgia Tech is in their road golds with the navy blue numerals, and the Georgia Ice Dogs are in their red home uniforms with the white numerals. As now we have a bit more of a delay, as again the officials are not liking what they see. They're checking some of the sticks and checking some of the other equipment out there. And in just a few short minutes, we're going to be underway here. And I want to remind you that during the intermissions today, we actually have some great interviews lined up. And John, I know you're very excited about what you were able to do.
Yes, I was able to talk to Paul Kramer, the executive director of the Classic Center. Spoke to him about what went into bringing this facility to life. And I talked to John Hoos and about the state of the Georgia Ice Dog hockey program and where he hopes to go from here.
All right, we're ready to drop the puck. C.J. Lair in the face-off circle for the Yellow Jackets. Unbelievable. We're playing hockey in Athens, Georgia tonight. Face-off won by the Georgia Ice Dogs as they quickly dump it in the tech zone. As they move it around, Wes Roberts, right side, sends it in over in the far corner towards Lair. Lair's going to take it all around the end boards, and Georgia will regain possession. Deep in the far end, Georgia Tech trying to go out there very aggressive from the word go. Alan DeGeese out there gets rubbed off the puck as Georgia comes back away with it. Bradford has it, lost it, and now it's loose in the middle of the Georgia neutral zone. Taken away by Bray. Let's see if Georgia can get their first sustained rush here in the early seconds of tonight's affair. Bradford chasing the puck down deep inside his own end, turns it over, collected in the corner by number 11 for Georgia Tech. And the Jackets are controlling the tempo early, holding the puck. This is a very large, very seasoned Georgia Tech hockey team. They're mostly graduate students and teams and players that have been here at least 5 seasons. If you take a look, they've got 7 players that have been here for 5 years or more. They've got 4 seniors on the roster and 5 juniors. They are very, very seasoned. Georgia only has the 3 seniors, 4 juniors, 10 sophomores, and 9 freshmen on the roster here tonight.
And there's that hard hit on the boards you were talking about.
Yeah, the first big hit comes from Peter Kaser, and now they go the other way. Moggy had it but lost it, and the Jackets will turn it back over in the middle of the neutral ice.
Had a little bit, Moggy was going up against one of the Yellow Jackets defensemen, so we might have a little...
Falkenstein dangles around a man, but he can't make it around the second man. Now Georgia Tech goes on the rush back the other direction. Galley over the left wing goes to the backhand. Quick shot goes wide of the net. It's collected in the corner, thrown to the front, no one home as McCrary was in working deep. Georgia can't clear. Held in by DeGeese. It's intercepted by the Ice Dogs, who once again can't clear. DeGeese with a slap shot. Save made by Kevin Smith, and he'll hang on to it. First shot on net, first save. Good to get that confidence build early on for the junior netminder.
Nice shot going in. I'm kind of worried about Georgia's inability to clear the zone. There have been a lot of pucks that's just been sitting out there in front of the net waiting for a Georgia Tech player to dump it in.
Now these are 2 teams that are both still getting accustomed to the ice surface out there tonight, as Georgia's had basically 1 practice on this surface since it was installed about 36 hours ago, and Georgia Tech still gaining familiarity with it. Cole Wright wins the draw for Georgia Tech. As the Jackets have it on the far side, they dump it around the end boards behind the net. Chased down in the corner, rubbed off the puck. I believe that's Saparini laying a hit for Georgia. Shelby Saparini fighting for it. And it's taken away in the corner by the Yellow Jackets. But now Georgia fighting back to try to regain control, and eventually the puck is going to float out of the zone. Call to clear, take it. Brandon Gadet dumps the puck in. Stick down there by Kevin Smith. 17:40 left to go here in the first period of a scoreless hockey game here tonight in Athens, Georgia, as the Dogs try to go rush the other way as Alex French had it, but quickly lost it. As another big hit gets laid on in the middle of the neutral zone as Witchell set down, I believe that was Alan DeGeese.
Like I said, big hits by Georgia Tech. They are dictating the tempo here early.
Both teams changing things up back behind the play as the puck is tied up in the corner. Shelby Sapanari takes it away for Georgia briefly, but it's turned over loose in the slot and collected on the far side. Georgia has it again. Moving on the far side, that's going to be Witchell. Witchell racing in, wrist shot is blocked in front. Nice defensive play there. I'm not sure who that was. It may have been Kenny McCrary as Georgia Tech regains control of the puck. They'll dump this one down the length of the ice. Icing has been waved off. It's a foot race into the corner as Sapanari is going to be rubbed off the puck, but it's taken away by Carlotto for Georgia. Back over to Witchell. Still loose deep inside the Georgia end. The Dogs having some major problems clearing things out there tonight.
Yes, that's one of the big issues that they're looking at. Tech, again, as we said, they're the team that's playing the tempo here early on.
Now racing up in the middle of the neutral zone is Stephen Bray. Bray racing in on the right wing, being rubbed off the puck there by Eric Moore. As the puck trickles free and Georgia Tech comes away with it once again as McCrary's hammered by Moggy back behind the play.
That's what Georgia needs to do, dictate tempo. Get those big hits in.
Now the Irish try to dump one in from center ice. They can't quite get there. Eric Moore, the junior, is hit hard there in the corner, but Georgia Tech retains possession. Wishel in the corner working against Ryan Krusko in the middle of the neutral zone.
Good hit by Falkenstein to start that rush.
Georgia trying everything they can just to try to get a breakout here and get a shot on net. We're 4 minutes deep here at the Classic Center in Athens. Georgia denied. Currently, well, we've had one shot on net that hasn't even registered up on the scoreboard at this point, and that shot was for Georgia Tech. Now working through traffic. It's going to be Peter Kaser dangling through 5 guys. A sixth man couldn't make it through. Moggy skates in, wrist shot, save made, and it's going to be covered up by Michael Klein. Great scoring chance there by Moggy, cleaning up after the puck was knocked loose at the edge of the slot, letting loose a great wrist shot, but it hit the netminder right in the chest.
And we had Jeremy Omes and Michael Falkenstein kind of doing a little shoving action by the Georgia Tech net. We're talking a little bit about Peter Kaser. He's got 56 points on the season, 33 goals, 23 assists.
33 goals ties him for second all-time on Georgia's single-season mark. Face-off is going to be won by Falkenstein, and it's going to be taken in the corner and controlled by Gaudette now for Georgia Tech. As now the Jackets go on the attack. Across the red, across the blue, dumping it in. Tried to hit, looked like Wes Roberts. Couldn't find him in the corner, and it's going to be fought for by Mitchell Carr and taken away by Georgia. Moving things up through the middle of center ice. They're going to battle for possession for a second, and Georgia finally comes back away with it. Briefly, it was controlled by, I believe that was Austin Shin seeing his first ice time. Now Kaser with a cannonading shot, saved and covered by Michael Klein, who ended up significantly out of his crease to cover up that puck. If you're Georgia, you want to try to feed Peter Kaser at every opportunity that you have. He scored 48 goals in 2012 to set the all-time single-season mark for these Georgia Ice Dogs. He's also third all-time for single-season assists back in 2012 with 33. Quick shot off the face-off, immediately covered back up by Michael Klein. And now we'll have the face-off again, going out to Klein's right.
This is probably the best chance we've seen for Georgia.
It's a great opportunity here as they work it back to the point. Over to Soav, dumps it inside, taken by Witchell. Witchell throws it in front, no one home, as number 11, Alex French was hammered in front. No call, even though he's well away from the puck.
That was Degassi with the hammer.
Another big hit laid on back behind the play is C.J. Lair. Normally a netminder will dump this one over on the far side. Georgia Tech trying to skate in on net. There is Cole Wright as he lost a handle on it back behind the net. Worked away over in the far corner. Georgia comes away with it. Let's see if the Ice Dogs can get a rush out of this. But the puck is going to be turned over back in the middle of the neutral zone. Degassi dumps it back in on the far side. And it's going to be collected again by C.J. Lair with a quick slap shot wide of the net. Moving over to the far side. Michael Sant had it, lost it. Back in the middle of the neutral zone, Georgia Tech's going to dump this one in. They're going to change things up on defense. A little bit of miscommunication back behind the play by Georgia, and Soav will control for the Ice Dogs. Jesse Soav, the freshman from Livonia, Michigan, sends this one in and quickly covered by the netminder Michael Klein.
Well, both goaltenders have at least about 2 or 3 good saves right now. They're playing to the puck. Good sign. 6 minutes gone by, just about, still scoreless, and that's not what we thought when we were talking about what we expected for this game.
Typically when Georgia and Georgia Tech get together, whoever gets to 8 first will win a hockey game. That might still be the case here. These two teams are still figuring each other out. In the face-off circle for Georgia's Kyle Kidwell, and he's going to win the draw, but again, the puck will just float in on net on Klein, who will immediately cover this one back up. 13:58 left to go here in the first period. Face-off won by Georgia Tech, and the Jackets will start the rush the other way. Michael Sant with a long cross-ice pass picked off by the Ice Dogs in the middle of the neutral zone. Quick dump looking for Kidwell, wasn't there, taken away by Gaudette. They'll dump it in over on the left wing. It's going to be collected by Georgia in the middle of the defensive end and dumped back into the neutral side. Not a lot for the fans to get excited about so far as Carlotto collects the puck back behind his own net. A couple of big hits, mostly behind the play, but not that really devastating separation of the player from the puck like you'd like to see in the early going.
Well, as you said, they're still feeling each other out. Actually, they're feeling the ice out more than anything else. These two teams know a lot about each other, either one has any surprises up in store.
Here's an opportunity now, racing through. I believe that's Bacon. Bacon moving all in, dumping over to Ray. Shoots. Oh, he hit the post. Oh, Stephen Bray hit the post.
He hit the post on a nice flip pass.
It was a golden pass right there. There's no goal. The horn is going off, though. David Bacon had a beautiful feed over to Stephen Bray. That one rang off the pipe. That is absolutely no goal. There is no video replay anyway at this level, so it's a non-issue as a quick shot comes in and a save is made by Kevin Smith. 12:51 left to go in the first frame. Some great opportunities for Georgia to get on the board, and none better than that 2-on-1 opportunity ringing off the left pipe.
Yeah, Bacon do a little shaking under there in the pipes. Just got it off to Bray. Bray is a sophomore, left-handed shot from Prattville, Alabama.
Face-off coming to Kevin Smith's left, and it's won by Georgia. Racing through is Peter Kaser, working through two guys. Could single up, wrist shot, hit the side of the net. Fans on the far side thought it went in. Puck is still inside the Georgia Tech end, taken away by Kaser again. Dumps it back off to Moggy. In front of Kaser in the slot. Wrist shot, he scores! Peter Kaser strikes first blood and scores the first ever goal in Athens city limits. And it's 1-0 Georgia.
And the assist goes to Moggy, so Moggy's the answer to the trivia question, who had the first assist in the Athens city limits.
Great decision by Eric Moggy to feed Kaser in the slot. He let go a wrist shot that really didn't have that much on it, but it slid on the ice and beat Michael Klein 5-hole, and Georgia takes the early 1-0 lead in Athens town tonight.
Well, that's 34 goals for Kaser. Moggy picks up his 15th assist for 26 points on the season, and Kaser 58 points.
It was Carr and Wischel in the face-off circle, and Wischel wins it for Georgia, but Georgia Tech collects deep inside the Georgia end, working behind the net, trying to get someone loose in the slot, but the puck's going to be covered up. Heads-up play there by Kevin Smith. Good awareness to see the puck get a little close to the side of his cage and cover up before anything could come of it. 12:22 left to go here in the first period. 1-0 Georgia over Georgia Tech. Mike Tingle here with John Morgo here at the Classic Center in Athens, Georgia tonight. The first ever game in Athens, Georgia. Face-off controlled by Georgia, pinned down deep inside their own end. Kaser working around one man, around his second man. Kaser's just going to go coast to coast here, across the red, across the blue. He's going to race all the way in, tried to throw it in front, but unfortunately ran out of room, ran out of ice there at the edge of the rink. Galley's going to clear this one for Georgia Tech. Great heads-up clear and an even better defensive play by Dixon Babb to take it back for Georgia. Puck loose in the middle of the neutral zone, and the Jackets go back on the attack over on the right side. Alan DeGessie being worked on by Moggy in the far corner. Little tie-up. Moggy and DeGessie working on it. A little bit of extra help comes in there by, I believe that's going to be Garrett Stiles, and the puck will come free back out to the middle of neutral ice. Georgia tried to change things up defensively there in that opportunity, and were able to get at least one defenseman off, and now they'll probably get the second defenseman off as well as the puck is deep inside the Georgia Tech end. Heavy hit laid on right there in the corner as Wesley Roberts meets the high glass, but Georgia Tech still going on the attack on the far side. Layer's going to dump this one all the way in, looking towards Galley, but it's going to be taken away by Georgia. They'll dump it back out to the middle of the neutral zone and try to change things up again. But now a bit of an attack as Alex French dicks around a couple of guys and gets free, but unfortunately Georgia Tech regains possession. Controlling right in front of us, Eric Moore, the junior forward from Green Bay, Wisconsin. And a great forecheck being applied by the Ice Dogs. Kidwell in front, slap shot, save made, a Ryowski chance. Second shot is going to be saved as well. A great scoring chance here by the sophomore Ryan Rogowski. And Georgia Tech is going to send one on net from around the blue line. An easy save and an easy cover from Kevin Smith as the Georgia Ice Dogs are tilting the ice more and more as we continue to play on here tonight. 10:39 left to play in the first period. 1-0 Georgia leading Georgia Tech.
As we have a little break in the action as they get set for this face-off down on Georgia's defensive end of the ice, message being shown on the video monitor. And now I think, again, the thing I like about this, Philly, it's so close. Like all the fans, they're right on the action. But we're really seeing a kind of a sedate crowd. Other than the student section to our left, fans are sitting down. They're not really, they're cheering the hard hits, but they need to be more, I think, into the action.
Well, they had the goal to cheer for, and they've had a few big hits as well. But right now, again, as these two teams are sort of continuing to feel out how things are being played out, as we have what I believe might be an ice resurfacing timeout, if I'm not mistaken. It could just be, no, that's not the case. It's just going to be a timeout, which I believe was taken by Georgia Tech. That may have been the case. Again, with our where we're at with our broadcast nest, if you will, actually it is a resurfacing moment as the Georgia ice girls are taking to the ice. That's another feature which is new to Georgia hockey this year. We've never had ice girls like you see at a lot of NHL venues and a lot of minor league venues as well. We had auditions not that long ago, and there was a tremendous volume of interest in ladies who wanted to be a part of this.
Well, this is their tryout, I suppose, as they'll be, well, I guess a main prerequisite for getting this tryout is you have to be on the campus next season for when this home schedule starts. Again, they've announced the entire dates, all 20 of them, starting off on September 20th with Florida. That's going to be part of the Troy game, which is football is going to take place at Sanford Stadium. Then the Gators come in for a hockey match right here. Again, an opportunity for all the fans to come down and extend their stay here in Georgia and just rally behind their university, their red and black.
We want to remind you that tonight's broadcast is brought to you by the UGA Hockey Booster Club. To join the Booster Club, go to UGAHockeyFoundation.com. And it's also brought to you by Ameritrans, safely taking you the distance. Mike Tingle, John Morgo here tonight in Athens, Georgia. 10:39 to play in the first period. It's 1-0 Ice Dogs leading Georgia Tech as the ice resurfacing is nearly finished, and the face-off is going to be to Kevin Smith's left. In the circle for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets is Kenny McCrary. It looks like he's going to square off against Kyle Kidwell, the senior forward for the Ice Dogs. Puck drop, and it is going to be won by Georgia Tech as it's still controlled deep inside the Georgia end, reminiscent of the opening seconds of this game where it was really all Georgia Tech sort of controlling the puck and doing what they needed to do as a quick shot doesn't make it through traffic on the far side, and Georgia comes away with it. And another breakout opportunity for the Ice Dogs. Long hidden pass for Bray. Bray with a breakaway. Bray with a shot and a great paddle save made there by Michael Klein.
One-on-one for Bray, just couldn't put it through.
Stephen Bray still has a throw it in front. It's going to be taken away. Bray, another quick shot, paddle down save made by Klein again. Bray behind the net, being worked on by a Yellow Jacket, and Georgia Tech's going to be able to clear the zone. Collected back behind the net by Austin Shin. Worked back over to Dixon Babb. Babb dumping this one back over to Bacon. Bacon racing in over on the left wing. David Bacon all the way in. Quick shot and another shoulder save made by Georgia Tech's netminder Michael Klein, who has shown some very nice moves in the early going here tonight as the puck is loose off an errant pass as the Georgia Tech defenseman managed to send the puck on net on his own netminder. A very heads-up play by Michael Klein to cover that up before anything could come of it.
Yeah, he had to smother it, just pop down on it and make sure it didn't get out, even though the Georgia sticks were poking and prodding him, trying to get that thing loose.
Klein, a graduate student, another veteran you'll find on this Georgia Tech team. Quick shot goes just wide of the net off the faceoff. Georgia still controlling, heavy hit laid on there in the corner by Mitchell Carr for the Yellow Jackets, and they're able to clear the zone. And we have a whistle, and it looks like, well, the
ice went loose.
The door, yes.
The door went loose.
The entry door that Georgia Tech uses to get on the ice has come free. And they will, they've taken care of that, and we'll have to face off just outside the Georgia Tech zone.
Yeah, one of our linesmen, Mr. Cole, puts that door in its moorings.
Carr once again in the face-off circle for Georgia Tech, squaring off with David Bacon. The draw is going to be won by Georgia Tech, and they dump it in, quickly covered again by Kevin Smith. You know, one of the great things I've heard about Kevin Smith is that he is emotionally one of the most well-balanced netminders you will ever see. I was a goalie during my time. We have a reputation, a very well-deserved reputation, for being an eccentric lot, but he is very even keel, and that's something that I know his teammates certainly count on, especially when things start to go a little bit wrong. Off the face-off, Georgia Tech, a quick centering opportunity there. Mitchell Carr lost it. And this puck is still tied up deep inside the Georgia end. Carr regaining possession, looking to throw a quick shot on net. Again, easy save and easy cover by Kevin Smith, who hasn't had to do too much work tonight.
He's had a couple of saves, but as you were talking earlier about his even keel, he's shown that this season, coming back from having mono and working himself into shape and keying this run that Georgia's on the last few weeks of their regular season, the 6-3 run.
Face off to Smith's right, won by Georgia Tech. They're going to work it around, defenseman to defenseman, dumped in by DeGessie. Taken back behind the net. Georgia Tech still trying to go on the attack, but Georgia doing a great job on the back check to take away possession is Peter Kaser. You'll see him get involved in things defensively more than you'll see a lot of other forwards when given the opportunity. Georgia trying to start a rush to Moggy, but Moggy couldn't quite hang on and retain possession as Georgia Tech dumps it deep inside the end. Kaser has it back behind the net. A heavy hit laid on there. I think that was 42, Nick Carlotto, the junior defenseman. Georgia Tech having to work for every single inch of ice out there tonight as the Jackets control. Quick wrist shot, save made again by Smith, who covers up. I believe that was number 81, Nick Galley, on that quick wrist shot. One of the more sizable players on this Georgia Tech team. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. Georgia Tech took their warm-ups directly in front of us, and I'll tell you what, 6'2" is one thing. 6'2" on skates is significantly larger.
Something else. Georgia Tech's leading scorer, Kenny McCrary, 16 goals, 15 assists on the season.
McCrary wins the face-off as it goes deep down into the corner. Michael Sant fighting forward for the Yellow Jackets. Works back out to the point to DeGessie. And there's McCrary again, feeds it over the near corner, taken away by the Ice Dogs, and here comes Georgia on the rush. Skating things up over on the left wing is Ryan Rogowski. Rogowski is going to get tied up back behind the net. Big hit laid on there on Eric Moore. Georgia Tech taking a lot of hits, but still maintaining a lot of possession. Georgia now controlling directly in front of us. Heavy hit laid on there by Alan DeGessie for the Yellow Jackets. Georgia Tech takes control, but a nice hit laid on there by number 8, Austin Shin for Georgia. As once again, the puck just floats in calmly on Kevin Smith, who makes a very easy save. 7:45 to go here in period number 1. Georgia leading Georgia Tech 1-0 in front of a sold-out crowd here at the Classic Center in Athens, Georgia, the new home of the Georgia Ice Dogs after 27 years of playing in Duluth, Georgia, 47 miles away. Finally, they have a home just 60 seconds away from campus, and that's if you're on foot. This is going to be a tremendous advantage for this Georgia hockey team, and it's going to do a lot of good things for the Classic Center as well, as we're going to find out during our first intermission. Bacon controlling over in the far corner as Georgia trying to find a nice breakout. They've had a lot of luck tonight skating the puck to the edge of their defensive zone and finding that long headman pass through the middle of the neutral zone to try to get an odd man rush or to try to get a breakaway. We'll see if Georgia Tech adjusts things defensively to try to take away those opportunities. As Soab with a big hit there in the corner as the puck goes out of play. I believe it hit the netting back over the tall high glass, and we'll have the face-off inside the Georgia zone to Kevin Smith's left.
There is a little danger of the puck flying out of here because the netting is only around the goal area, around that whole circle at either end, but the sides, there is no netting, so you're going to have to be careful about that, but there's the high glass that should keep a careening puck in play.
Kidwell loses the draw against Kaiser for the Yellow Jackets, who are now working it around the edge of the perimeter, trying to make something happen. As they try to feed it back to the point, instead decided to take a shot well wide of the net. As Georgia eventually fights this one free, and they go the other direction. Racing through is Bacon. Bacon with a headman pass looking for Bray, couldn't get it, but instead it's Kidwell. Kidwell trying to throw it in the middle of the slot, rubbed off the puck. A nice job there as Wesley Roberts is actually going to be sent to the box.
First penalty today.
First penalty we've seen. I thought it was a clean hit. It happened directly in front of us as he rubbed Bacon off of the puck. They're calling it a cross-check as Roberts goes to the box, and the first power play opportunity for Georgia happens with 6:42 left to go here in the first period. Georgia leading 1-0.
Well, Wesley Roberts with 10 penalty minutes coming into this contest.
The face-off will be moved inside the Georgia Tech end. Over to Michael Klein's left. In the circle is Kidwell for Georgia. Georgia wins the draw, holding over on the far side. Dipping back to Kaser at the point. Kaser moving it to Bacon. Bacon left side. Back to Kaser. Kaser controlling. Moves over right wing. Feeds it back to Kaser. Kaser thought about the shot. Takes it back to Bacon. Bacon, let's go. Weak wrister goes wide of the net. Bray tried to run it down. He still has possession. Back to Kaser at the point. Kaser gonna wind up, big slap shot, redirected in front, just wide of the net. Great redirection opportunity there by Kyle Kidwell, but it went wide of the net. Moggy now has it directly in front of us, left wing. Moggy feeding Bacon at the point. Back to Moggy, left circle. Cross-ice pass, Kaser with a one-time shot, didn't get all of it, and it goes well wide of the net. Nice clear effort there by Eric Moore, but it doesn't leave the zone. Taken by Kaser for Georgia. Back to Bray, left wing, cross-ice pass, taken by Bacon. Bacon trying to make something happen here. 1:10 left in the Georgia man advantage. Moggy controlling. Skating this one back. Directing people directly in front of the net. Kidwell fighting for his positioning. There's a quick slap shot there by Moggy. Save made there by Klein. Moggy holds on, dumps it back behind the net, but there's no one there. Stephen Bray runs it down. 50 seconds left in the Georgia man advantage. Big slap shot goes just wide of the net once again. Klein can't get it. Moggy working hard against Moore. Moore trying to clear, taken by Bacon. Bacon right side, back to Moggy. Moggy skating in left circle. Back over to Kaser. Kaser thought about the wrist shot, but instead passed it for a shot well wide of the net. Moggy now skating. He has all kinds of space to skate in if he wants. Moggy skating, 30 seconds left in the Georgia power play. Moggy a wrist shot, hit the side of the net. I believe Klein got a piece of it. Moggy working in the corner. It's going to float all the way back over to Bacon. Bacon controlling, thought about the slap shot, winding up, wrist shot, save made by Klein, and the rebound will be controlled by Georgia. 15 seconds left in the Georgia power play. Taken by Kaser, slap shot by Bacon, save made by Klein, and he controls the rebound. Kidwell had a great opportunity to try to knock home that rebound. He batted it out of midair, but a great job by Klein to cover that up. 9 seconds remaining in the Georgia man advantage.
Especially since Kidwell smacked Klein in the mass with a stick, missing the puck. And he was able to collect it even with that jarring hit.
Klein takes a well-deserved drink of water. The face-off will be held to Klein's right. It's going to be Michael Falkenstein taking the draw for Georgia as we get our second power play unit line in for these final 10 seconds. And Georgia Tech is going to dump this one out and kill off the remainder of this power play. 2 seconds, 1 second, and now Georgia Tech is back to even strength. Quick shot there by Ryan Krusko, goes wide of the net, and Georgia will control, try to clear, can't quite do it. Second chance opportunity does leave the zone.
That was a very good power play defense by Klein. He took a lot of shots in there, kept everyone out.
Well, the old saying is that your netminder is your best penalty killer. That was certainly true for that first power play opportunity tonight. Quick wrist shot goes wide of the net off the chance by, I believe that was Mitchell Carr for the Jackets. Georgia controlling in the right wing. They're going to send this one down the length of the ice. It's going to go on net. Not a shot attempt, but nevertheless, Georgia Tech will control deep inside their own end. Gaudette sends it over on the near side over to Howe. Back over on the left wing, taken by Wright. Wright's going to be rubbed off the puck, collected by Falkenstein. Puck loose in the corner. As a battle ensues, I believe that's Bacon that had it, lost it. Quick shot goes wide of the net, scoring chance for the Jackets. Goes well wide, and now Georgia's going to regain possession. Bacon has it, skating up over on the far side, dumping this one up near boards, looking for, they had a man in Rogowski, but he never saw the puck.
I know, I think he thought it went there. He was looking in the stands.
Heavy hit laid on in the corner by Carlotto, I think that was. No, that's actually number 2, Dixon Babb for the Ice Dogs. As the puck moves back over on the far side. Georgia Tech has had a lot of puck possession and time in the attack zone, but they haven't had many shots to show for it.
Not in the last few minutes. They had a couple when we just got started, but nothing going in the last 10 minutes or so.
DeGessie's effort goes well wide. They'll try to run it down in the corner, taken by Allaire. In the corner, taken away by Shin for Georgia briefly, but recollected by the Yellow Jackets. Working forward is Witchell, and Georgia finally tries to get that breakout pass, but it swings well wide, and Eric Moore collects defensively for the Jackets. Moore on the far side, it gets dumped up to McCrary. McCrary getting his first real look here tonight as he controls and sends it over on the far side. One-time opportunity. Instead, it's a wrist shot, doesn't make it through traffic on the effort there from Mitchell Carr, and Georgia comes away. Near boards, racing through is going to be Stephen Bray. He's going to be hit hard, rubbed off the puck. No call. It's a good no call as Georgia Tech will regain possession and try to clear the zone they can. Eric Moore has it. Challenged by Bacon. Bacon with a great job on the forecheck, taking the puck away. But Georgia Tech's able to recollect. And again, McCrary has it and dumps it through the middle of the neutral zone. 2 minutes left to go here in the first period. Georgia leading Georgia Tech 1-0. As the Jackets lose possession and the Ice Dogs head the other way. Stephen around 3 guys, and Georgia Tech will regain possession. McCrary turned it over inside his own end. But it comes back in the middle of the neutral zone. We're well under 1 minute left to play here in the first period. 50 seconds remaining on the clock. We'll see if we can get one more scoring chance for these Ice Dogs as Moggy fights for the puck in the middle of the neutral zone, and it's going to float all the way down on Klein, who's forced to play it. His pass for Moore goes errant, and McCrary has to play it back on the near boards over to Krusko. Krusko directly in front of us. The big number 55, Wesley Roberts. 30 seconds remaining here in the first period. Moore controlling deep in his own end. Long cross-ice pass there to McCrary. McCrary, nice move, passing this one up to Krusko. Right wing, Krusko skating in, being worked on by Babb. Krusko still fighting for it. It's loose back behind the net. They throw it in front, no one home. 15 seconds. And now we're down to just 10 ticks left here in the first period. The puck is tied up in the middle of the neutral zone. Georgia Tech is just going to kill this clock as the final 5 seconds tick down. And at the end of the first period, our score, Georgia and Georgia Tech are tied at 1. We didn't get the offensive explosion that we were perhaps expecting when these two teams get together. I think a lot of that may have been due to, of course, both these teams getting used to this ice. As you mentioned, they know each other plenty, but it's just a matter of getting used to this playing surface, because every venue is different, especially when you get to a place that has never hosted hockey before like we have here at the Classic Center.
Exactly, and we had a problem with the shaving ice in front of the either net toward the end of the half. I noticed one instance right after Klein tipped it, it just sat on the ice and died, didn't move it at all. So that's something that they're going to clean up now as the Zamboni is going to come across.
Well, that's something that, as a netminder, sometimes that's something that you like. Some goalies are very particular about how they like their snow. You'll see a lot of guys try to pack it against the sides of the post to try to protect against a wraparound. I myself, I may have been the only guy that just loved having a lot of snow loose all around the crease to slow down the puck. You're less apt to have a puck trickle in on you in an instance like that. We're at the first intermission here in Athens, Georgia tonight, as Georgia and Georgia Tech are tied at 1. And well, as we head to this first intermission, well, John, you had a great opportunity to catch up with someone who's been instrumental to everything that's gone on here at the Classic Center this weekend.
Welcome back to Sports Utility Vehicles Intermission Report. This is John Morgo speaking before the match with Paul Kramer, the Executive Director of the Classic Center. And Mr. Kramer, thank you very much for joining me. With a lot of stuff going on, thank you for taking the time for us.
Oh gosh, thanks for being here. This is really an exciting day for Athens, for Georgia, and certainly for hockey.
Yes, it is. And could you just explain for a little bit, just go into the basics, how long it took to get this arena ready here in this, well, I guess it used to be it's a modified ballroom, modified convention hall. So here we go, we got the ice. How long did it take to get everything straightened out for this?
You know, it's really exciting. We had another event in here. We had the Chick-fil-A race culminating inside the exhibit hall, and it was here in the venue until 4 p.m. on Saturday. Our crew came in between Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, totally transformed it from an exhibit-looking hall to now a full arena with ice. So 3 days.
3 days. That's pretty good. But let's get back to the planning stages. When did you decide with Coach Hoos or in the UGA hockey people that this was the place to put where the UGA hockey club should play at home? And then once that was decided, how long did it take to get all the logistics together to getting this arena together?
It was almost a year ago we began to think about how do we maximize the use of the Classic Center. And then I met Coach Hoos, and he said, you know, if you would put hockey and telescopic seating, you'd get far more than hockey. Then you would have all the youth sports competitions wanting to be in Athens, Georgia, and you could really maximize that opportunity. Then we had to go to my board. After that, we had to go to the Mayor and Commission. Once they approved it, we had to get a bank approved. To approve the loan, and finally we had to begin to assemble all of the various vendors that were able to deliver the kind of turnaround that we need in a venue like this. So really started buying equipment, got the final permission last October, and then bought all of the equipment, did a little ice rink in December, and this is the full deal now. Here we are, April the 9th, so very exciting.
And just as an aside, where did the Zamboni come from? Where'd you buy that?
It actually came from the Midwest, and there is a company out there that reconditions Zambonis, and So we bought a 1999 version, but had it all stripped down, completely rebuilt, and had it wrapped just on Monday. St. Mary's our sponsor, and we're proud to have them.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm sure. And I guess it's the only Zamboni in Clark County.
That's exactly right. Maybe one of the few in the state of Georgia, but we're happy to have it.
Exactly. The only Zamboni here in northeast Georgia. Now that word of this has gone out, have you been contacted by youth groups, by anybody else saying, okay, what is the status of this rink? Can we possibly have some of our tournaments on it?
You know, it's just amazing. Yes, taekwondo, gymnastics, cheerleading competitions, all of them have signed up already, and I know there's so many more yet to come. But the thing that I didn't think about were the fact that all of the youth conventions are excited about this as well. In December, we're actually going to host 6,000 students for the Baptist Youth Conference, and they're very excited about it. Today, I'd been lastly in looking at it from FFA, so I think it's going to pay off and pay off really well.
Now, this is a regulation hockey rink that's out there in front of us.
Absolutely. So any youth hockey tournaments that want to come in, we're certainly looking to host those as well. Or any of the men's league tournaments that I know are out there, we're looking for them as well.
This is a very cozy venue, isn't it? I don't think anyone can, like if you go to the Gwinnett Gladiators, or I guess you would have for your NHL fix, you'd have to either go to Carolina or Nashville. If you go to there, you're not going to be as close as on the action as you are here.
There really is not a bad seat in the house, and one of the neat things about this arena is we've spent the money for the acoustical panelings all the way around, and we really spent the money on the sound system. So you're not going to hear that giant echo reverb that you often hear in a big arena. You've got an intimate house where really great sight lines and great sound system.
And again, this event is sold out. Did that surprise you that it's sold out this quickly?
It really did. We've been totally sold out for about a month, but we got a great booster club, great partnership, and I think all it says is that the people in and around Athens are excited about hockey.
Yes, they are. Now that the Georgia's going to play their home games exclusively, you're going to get a lot of SEC teams, a lot of ACC teams come following through here to Athens. Have you been set up? Have you tried to set things up with maybe the football team to try and say, okay, let's get the hockey team? Now, let me just use this as a for instance. Say Tennessee's coming in. Have you said to them, okay, let's see if we can get Tennessee's hockey team to come in during that weekend and just try to create events around it?
No, I leave all that scheduling up to Coach. I just give him, what we do is we book the conventions first. Mm-hmm. Once they're in, they usually book 2 years out in advance, so that gives us another whole year to look at dates. I give the dates to Coach, and he does all the scheduling.
Yeah, because you have the home schedule already set up for next year. I find that amazing.
20 home games right here, and we've got it all buttoned up and done. We're going to sell season tickets tonight.
I'm sure you'll sell out the season tickets tonight. You're going to get a lot. You're going to get a lot of traffic on that.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very, very much.
No problem. This is John Morgan with Paul Kramer, Executive Director of the Classic Center. Congratulations on this event. Many more in the future.
Thanks very much. Take care.
You too. All right, that was Paul Kramer, and we will continue our intermission festivities after this. You're watching the Georgia Tech and Georgia here at the Classic Center in Athens. We'll be right back after this on the SUV TV.
Well, what a night it's been so far. It's everything we expected it would be, except for the score at this point. A 1-1 hockey game, but it has turned into a bit of a festive atmosphere as we see a lot of the fans that are walking around in the concourse. A lot of people clearly having a great time out here tonight and enjoying something that this might be their first time in a lot of cases seeing hockey in person.
Exactly. A lot of the casual fan here in Athens may not want to make that 90-minute round trip to Duluth, but now they can. They have no excuse. It's right here, right in their backyard. And so far, if you want defensive hockey, that's what we're seeing here today. Both teams have had a lot of chances, but we've had stellar play from the goalies on both teams. Michael Klein has come up big, especially during that power play toward the end of the first period. And Kevin Smith has been sterling all through especially the early part of the game, where Georgia Tech had a lot of rushes.
If you take a look at the scoring chances and take a look at the quality of the opportunities, it really does speak to the performance that Michael Klein has had tonight. Because, well, again, the score is even, and both teams have had their opportunities. A lot of the shots that we've seen over on Kevin Smith have been softer opportunities, where he's been able to stop the initial shot with good positioning and then immediately cover it up. And we've had to see Klein go out there and make a lot of diving saves, sprawling saves. Georgia is being very good at picking their location on a lot of these shots and forcing him to go out there and leave his comfort zone. But Klein has done a great job tonight, which is a performance that I certainly did not expect from a kid that I wasn't even sure was going to get the start tonight.
No, we were expecting C.J. Lair, who comes in with a 13 games played, a 7-2 record, 3.79 goals against average, 1 shutout on the season, but he's a forward today, and he's certainly helping his team out, getting that goal with about 1 minute 15 seconds remaining in the period to even up this ball game.
Well, let's take a look at some of the two superstar players that we have on the attack for each of these teams, and certainly for Georgia, Peter Kaser has been the man for Georgia. He has done a great job controlling the puck, moving the puck, and getting shots on net when he's needed to. And that's something we've seen from him all season long, and his performance tonight has just been a wonderful exclamation point to what we've seen from a great career from him.
He's had a great game here today. He's had a great game, getting his 34th goal on the season, giving him 57 points to go along with 23 assists. Stephen Bray and his partner in crime, David Bacon, with a lot of rushes. They just have not been able to convert getting the puck and to get the puck past Michael Klein.
Another player that deserves a lot of credit here tonight has to be number 12, Kyle Kidwell for Georgia. He's done a great job getting into the dirty areas, especially on the power play. He's been skating into the edge of the crease, causing a lot of havoc there, making Klein work through him, making sure that the netminder for Georgia Tech does not have a lot of good looks. And he's been doing that all night long, and especially on that one power play that Georgia had.
He's done it. Yes, he's had a lot of good looks there. But again, give it up for Michael Klein, keeping the puck out of the net, except for that goal by Kaser at the 12:33 mark with an assist from Moggy.
Well, the player that we expected the most from Georgia Tech tonight is the junior forward from Grayson, number 21, Kenny McCreary, and he certainly made an impact on the ice out there tonight, but he really hasn't been the same sort of offensive presence that we've seen from, say, Peter Kaser out there for the Georgia Ice Dogs. McCrary's been out there, he's been making plays, he's been active both offensively and defensively, but it hasn't been that streamline, feed the puck out there to McCrary and let him make offense happen.
No, McCrary has been taken out of the ball game. What Georgia Tech has done, however, they've been hard-hitting. DeGacy, for one player, has been very well making a physical presence known. Wesley Roberts as well. Mitchell Carr has had a couple of good hits. Georgia Tech is trying to set the tone defensively, and they've been able to skate to a 1-1 game.
You said it, sir. It's a 1-1 hockey game here at the first intermission. We want to remind you once again that our outstanding sponsors for tonight's game are the UGA Hockey Booster Club. If you're interested in joining the Booster Club or learning more information about them, go to UGAHockeyFoundation.com. Tonight's broadcast is also brought to you in part by Ameritrans, safely taking you the distance. Mike Tingle here, joined by John Morgo, and it's been an absolute blast from start to finish. We had a great intermission contest, an opportunity for some students to go out there and win a car by sliding a puck through a very small hole, one end of the rink to the other, and now the Zambonis back out there on the ice. It's funny, you see a lot of the little things. The very first time they've had to go out there and cut this ice for a game, there was a little bit of miscommunication there. As the Zam came out, they were ready to cut the ice, but no one had moved any of the nets yet. So you can see some of the conversation back there. Got to get those nets moved, got to be able to cut the entire ice and get this back to good.
Yeah, the Zamboni, if you're listening to our conversation with Paul Kramer, the executive director of the Classic Center, this Zamboni only arrived here and was outfitted on Monday. They got it from the Midwest, from a company that repurposes old Zambonis. It's a 1999 model that they refitted here, and it's the only Zamboni in Clark County. As a matter of fact, it's the only Zamboni in all of Northeast Georgia, possibly in this section of the state.
Again, the Georgia Ice Dogs playing their first game ever in Athens, Georgia, after 27 years of playing their games at the Atlanta Ice Forum in Duluth. It's a 47-mile drive, and it's something that certainly I was a part of for a very long time, and for these great student athletes to come out here and see the support. If you're watching our feed right now, you're seeing some crowd shots of part of the student section and the Georgia Ice Girls as well. As we mentioned, brand new. The support they're getting out here tonight is absolutely phenomenal, and this game is again just part of what is a much larger event. Earlier today, we had the Georgia hockey team do basically the equivalent of what the football team does. They did the dog walk as they walked through the middle of downtown Athens and then made their way here inside the arena. There was also a big gathering and a big tailgate put on by the University of Georgia Alumni Association that had great attendance. There have been people that have been hitting me up for the past 3 weeks trying to get tickets to this event here tonight, which was sold out within about 1 week from all these tickets being made available well over a month before this game was set to be played. And again, after one period of action, the fans, well, not disappointed, but they would love to see Georgia get at least one more goal here this evening. And you don't see a lot of scraps in college hockey. You certainly don't. We do play by NCAA rules, even though this is the ACHA, so you don't tend to see a lot of fighting, but there is one exception to that. That would be the very last game of the season.
Right.
You've got a lot of seniors that really don't have a lot to lose and would kind of like to have a good memory to go out on. So a lot of times you'll see some seniors go out there and take a chance. It really fires up the crowd, and it's something that everyone enjoys without fear of or any sort of repercussions.
But the thing with Georgia Tech, they employ so many grad students on their teams. You said it, 5-year players, 6-year players. That's sort of an issue, but you know, it kind of detracts a little bit from that. Again, this is ACHA, and that is roughly analogous to Division III in the NCAA, and you got a lot of teams from a lot of universities playing pretty much on the same level. There is one team from south of the Mason-Dixon line that does play NCAA hockey, has for many years, and that is, of course, the University of Alabama, Huntsville, still able to get a very good program despite everything working against it, the geography, who they have to play, those long road trips, but they do a good job over there, and they are the only one. And I would love to see, and maybe this could be the start of it, either some of these squads getting enough support behind them, getting the backing to possibly make that jump, but it's going to be a long road, and hopefully the first step of it is here tonight.
Every long road starts somewhere, and there is a lot of interest about hockey here at the University of Georgia, and one of the issues that would more than likely come up should they pursue the option to eventually become a varsity team is obviously the Title IX implication.
That is one.
And there are a lot of females that do play hockey, and
there is one on this team.
Absolutely. Of course, you're speaking about number 5, Shelby Saponari. She's a sophomore from Powder Springs, Georgia, and you know she is one very talented player, to be honest with you. She has done a fantastic job this season of letting her gameplay speak for her. She actually has a couple of points on the year. One of those was an assist that she had in the Savannah Tire Classic, which for the longest time, until we started playing games like these here in Athens, the Savannah Hockey Classic was the pinnacle event for Georgia hockey. That is for those who are uninitiated to this, that is a tournament which happens every single year in Savannah. And we bring 4 teams in. It's always Georgia, Georgia Tech, Florida, and Florida State. So you get the bitter rivalries in there. And we play a couple of games, and at the very end, when it's all said and done, we crown a champion. I believe it's still called the Thrasher Cup. That was what it was named back when it came about. I believe around 1999, if I'm not mistaken, is when the Thrasher Cup came into existence. And both Georgia and Georgia Tech have won that Thrasher Cup a number of different times.
Savannah's version, I guess you could call it Savannah's version of the Beanpot Classic.
Well, the amazing thing about that tournament is the way the city embraces it because of the revenue that it brings into Savannah, and also the fact that the hockey fans come out in force. I see things that I have never seen before traveling with this hockey team, which again, we're talking about an ACHA team, which gets very limited media exposure. And I have been on a bus that when we've arrived at the arena in Savannah, Georgia, we've had fans waiting on the sidewalk, lining up en masse, hundreds of fans wanting autographs from these players that they may not have ever seen in person. They've only read about on websites, followed from webcasts such as these and other items like that. That's the kind of support that they get in a place that you really wouldn't expect to hear a lot about hockey. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Savannah, Georgia is actually going to be the home of a new expansion franchise for the SPHL Southern Professional Hockey League. And that's something that arena down there, which I've been in more times than I can count. And I've had some experiences in Savannah that I can never talk about in a broadcast setting. That was always the marquee event, is the Savannah tournament that they have. And now you got to think that having a rink of this quality and this caliber here in Athens, we might be open up to opportunities that perhaps Athens had not been open up to before. Perhaps there could be a partnership with both Georgia and Georgia Tech to maybe even bring the national championship tournament to a place like North Georgia, where half the games are played at the home ice of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Half of them are played here in Athens. We bring in a large quantity of teams, a lot of people coming to support the local hotels. It's something which I'm sure has been brought up and has been thought about and considered and might be on the table, because frankly, we've had the national championship tournament in some warm weather climates before. It was actually down in Florida this past season.
Well, if you want to grow the game, what you have to do, and I think Paul Kramer knows this, is you have to grow it at the youth level. You have to grow it in the middle school, in the elementary school. That's the level where you need to grow the game. And hopefully this will bring people to get interested in it, and maybe we can get some youth leagues funded, and they could use this facility. But again, as we said, you know, the longest journey begins with a single step, and that single step has been made here tonight.
We're about ready to start the second period of action. How about that? We killed that whole intermission. Not sure how we did that, but we'll take it. The teams have switched sides. We have a very fast ice surface, and now we have Kevin Smith directly in front of us, as the Dogs will now skate, I believe, left to right across your video feed. And we're about set for the second period of hockey. It's a 1-1 hockey game, in case you're just joining us. Georgia and Georgia Tech here in the first ever game in Athens city limits tonight.
Left to right across your computer monitor, as I like to call it.
Mike Tingle, John Morgo here with you tonight. Thank you so much for joining us at UGAhockey.com, at YouTube, and a wide variety of other venues who are taking in the broadcast this evening. Michael Falkenstein loses the draw to start the second period underway, as Georgia Tech will once again flip in a soft shot from the neutral zone, easily gloved down by Kevin Smith. These are the opportunities that I talked about, that again, while they are technically shots that are on net, they're not really testing Georgia's netminder.
That's what Georgia Tech started the first period with, that soft flip shot that Smith easily corralled.
Falkenstein loses the draw to Galley, and it's going to be tied up on the far side, eventually taken away by Peter Kaser. Kaser looking for Moggy, intercepted in the neutral zone. Georgia Tech going back on the attack, or at least trying to, but Galley couldn't get to the puck. Carlotta with a long dump in for Moggy. That's going to go down the length of the ice. They wave off the icing where it's collected by the Gessie. Back behind the net, Georgia Tech setting up the play here in the opening seconds, and a great job on the forecheck taken away there by Witchell for the Ice Dogs. As the puck will eventually be cleared out of the zone, Carlotta will just dump this one in, as Georgia Tech will change things up on the attack. The puck moving right to left, and collected in the middle of the neutral zone by Nick Carlotto. Carlotto around the end boards, a little dump and chase, forces Klein to at least try to play it, but the Jackets once again collect. Kenny McCrary had the puck, lost it in the middle of the neutral zone, back into the defensive end. And Georgia fighting to regain control once again. It's number 15, Peter Kaser, skating all the way in right wing behind the net, looking to feed someone in front. Kaser's got a lot of help. He's got Babb at the point. Instead, he's going to have it chipped away and cleared back out to Carlotto deep inside the Georgia end. We're about a minute and a half deep into the second period. 1-1, Georgia and Georgia Tech, as the Jackets will try to send this one in as they dump and chase, and they'll get a line change behind the play. Babb collecting for Georgia. Right wing tries to feed Bacon. Bacon dumps it back to Falkenstein. Falkenstein has his puck separated from him as Bray fights for it behind the net, but the Jackets regain control. Controlled by Galley. Dumping this one in the middle of the neutral zone, pushing it back. The Jackets once more control as we go under 18 minutes left to play in the second period. The crowd kind of quieting down just a little bit as Georgia Tech goes on the attack. Moving it all the way through is McCrary. Had it taken away from him as Bray tries to make a nice play on the puck, but can't do it. As the puck is chopped loose, and Georgia Tech will send it the length of the ice, and this will not be out. It's a late icing
Yeah,
call.
late icing call. I think they were trying to see if Kevin Smith would come out and go get that puck. Instead, he lets it go by, and icing has been flagged.
Smith smart not to play that puck as he let it go over the end line as the faceoff moves deep inside the Georgia Tech end. Kyle Kidwell in the faceoff circle for the Ice Dogs, but it's won by McCrary for the Jackets. Dumped over to Galley on the right wing as Galley has his feet taken out from under him. No call. Georgia getting away with one as the Ice Dogs control in the neutral zone. They try to dump it back inside the Tech end and regroup. Taken by Brace, skating in between two defenders, ditching it over to Bacon with a quick wrist shot. Save made by Klein, and he covers up.
Didn't hit that nearly as hard as he wanted to on that wrist shot.
Well, we've seen that happen a couple of times on a wrist shot tonight where you think they're going to get a little bit more on it than they actually do, and oddly enough, oftentimes that can work in the shooter's favor because as a goalie, you know, if you're expecting the puck to come in a little higher and it comes in as a weak trickle, it really throws you off. Off to face off, quick shot by Bacon's well wide of the net as Georgia Tech will skate it up across the center line. Thought about blasting it through as DeGessie, and eventually he'll throw a weak shot wide of the net, and Georgia Tech will regain possession. Layer had it, big hit directly in front of us. Cole Wright had it, lost it, and now Georgia comes back the other way. Stephen Bray trying to get it outside the end, can't do it as it's pushed back. Shelby Saponari fighting for it in the corner.
And she had that big hit right in front of us.
They will take that anytime we can get it. Bacon regaining control, feeding Bray. Bray across the red, across the blue, left wing. Dumps it back to Kidwell. Kidwell lost it, taken by Bacon. Left wing. And he sends a very weak shot quickly on net, which is covered immediately by Michael Klein down at the far end.
Haven't seen too many strong shots this second period.
No, we certainly haven't seen too many at this point. 16:31 left to go, and again, the fans very quiet. The student section still on their feet as they have been for most of this game. They're just waiting for something to cheer about. Draw coming out to Klein's right. In the circle is Witchell for the Ice Dogs. Countering is, I believe, McCrary for Georgia Tech, and the Jackets win the draw, try to clear the end. Trying to get pushed out of there. I think that was Layer. Can't get it outside the zone. Now he does. Babb controls for Georgia deep inside the Dogs' end. They work it over on the left wing. It'll be dumped across, controlled in neutral zone by Georgia Tech. Nice move through as Eric Moore, I believe. Moore, the quick wrist shot, is loose in the slot. Nothing doing, taken away by Georgia.
Well, it was a sandwich shot as number 26 for Tech kind of got smacked in the middle, Krusko.
Moore with a quick little wrist shot. Falling short of the net as Georgia trying to clear this one back outside their end. Can't do it, and now the Jackets still on the attack as McCrary hits a little shot go. It'll be blocked well before it ever becomes a problem. And the Jackets still on the attack. Centering pass intercepted now by Witchell. Witchell has it right wing, moving it over on the far side. And it'll be pushed all the way back in to Bradford. Bradford, the senior defenseman for Georgia, trying to clear the line, and he does. Referee waves off icing instead. Bray racing all the way in. A quick shot goes just wide of the net. Klein never saw it, and I believe it hit the netting directly above the tall glass. 15:21 left to go in the second period. In a 1-1 hockey game, Georgia and Georgia Tech.
Again, if you're interested in more information, possibly want season tickets, call the Classic, either go to classiccenter.com or call 706-357-4444.
Off the face-off, Georgia controlling in the middle of the neutral zone. The left wing moving through is Kaser around a couple of players, but Georgia Tech doing a great job putting 2 or 3 bodies on him, not letting him go coast to coast. Moving along over the far side, Galley trying to hold it in for Georgia Tech, can't do it, goes back to the neutral zone. It'll be blasted by Ritchie, back to get it is Smith, slowing it down once again. Rogowski skating it up right wing. Rogowski cross ice pass looking for Kaser. Kaser left wing. Sends it around the end boards as Klein gave it a look, and I believe he poked that one free into the netting once again.
Yes, he did. Now, Kaser, it seems to me that Kaser has logged a lot of ice time here in this contest. Now, Is that true at this level, that your main players is going to get a majority, I mean, more than you would see at other levels?
Well, that's true at just about any level, that your best player is going to max out on ice time. You see that from the midgets all the way up to the NHL. You're going to get as many minutes as you possibly can out of your best players, especially when you're locked up in a 1-1 hockey game here, and any little bounce could mean the difference in this game here tonight. And right now, Georgia needing something to go right for them to get the fans back into this game as Georgia Tech tries to go on the attack. They don't have anything close to numbers. Will dump it back in as Carlotto clears the zone, has it sent right back to him, plays the boards off the quarter boards, and goes to the middle of the neutral zone. Is collected by Moggy, left wing. Moggy with help, throws it in front, quick shot, save made by Klein, loose, big slapper by Carlotto, and it never made it through traffic, and the Jackets clear it down the length of the ice. Will they wave off the icing? Yes, they will. Controlled again by Bradford around the end boards. Back to Bradford. Heavy hit late on there as it was C.J. Lair hitting the ice for the Jackets.
I think he slipped. I don't think he got hit.
Bradford sending this one over on the left wing. 13:40 left to go here in the second period of action. 1-1 Georgia Tech. Jackets going on the attack left wing. Krusko had it taken away by Bray. They're fighting for possession in the middle of the neutral zone, and the Jackets will go back and collect it. Georgia thinking about a line change. They'll get it back behind the play. Georgia Tech with an opportunity to set up a breakout. Controlled by Bacon for Georgia briefly before being rubbed off the puck as there's a scrum in the corner. Now the Jackets get that breakout they were looking for. Controlled by McCrary, left wing. McCrary trying to get around Carlotto, couldn't do it. Ends up dropping it back to 26. Quick shot goes wide of the net on Krusko's scoring chance. Couldn't happen. And we have a whistle, and we might have another penalty. Nope, the net is off of its moorings. Happened by only a foot, but that's all that it takes.
That's all that's needed there. Yeah, Krusko, a junior, right-handed shot, 5'8" from Alpharetta. He's gotten a lot of chances here in this second period of action.
And as we have our first whistle here in some time, the Ice Girls going to step out on the ice and do a little bit of resurfacing as we have had 7 minutes of what has been largely uneventful hockey here in the second period. Now, if you're Coach Hoos, you have a lot of different options here to try to mix things up. You can pinch defensemen a little bit more and take a lot more chances to try to get those breakouts. Of course, by doing that, you're going to run the risk of some odd man rushes going back in the opposite direction for Georgia Tech. But again, a little bit of end-to-end hockey. You can do that if you have confidence in your netminder. And Kevin Smith, again, very solid on his feet, has made some nice saves tonight, but truly hasn't gotten tested tonight. And if I'm Coach Hoos, I'm going to be against putting any sort of extra added pressure on the netminder until he really has to go out there and make some spectacular saves and really starts to feel like he's in the zone.
Well, you've been lucky in the instance that he hasn't had to he hasn't had to face a power play. That's one instance that he has been lucky. And he's been lucky in another instance that early in several portions of this contest where the puck has just been sitting there in the traffic with an easy shot. If someone could get a hard stick to it, that hasn't happened. We've had too many weak shots go up against Kevin Smith.
Well, this is again the first hockey game ever in Athens, Georgia. The fans here have got a pretty good show, at least in the first period, and we'll see if we can get the action ramped up in the second frame. Georgia Ice Hockey here tonight, brought to you by the Georgia Hockey Booster Club. To see about joining the Booster Club or for more information, go to UGAHockeyFoundation.com. Tonight's game also brought to you by Ameritrans, safely taking you the distance. Mike Tingle, John Morgo here tonight for our special webcast of tonight's affair. Face-off is coming to Smith's right. Kidwell in the circle for Georgia. It'll be won by the Ice Dogs briefly, but taken away by the Jackets. As they skated around the end boards, Georgia Tech really hasn't gotten any good sustained pressure deep inside the attacking zone, but again, neither team has really done that at this point in the second period. There's a quick wrist shot right into the breadbasket of Smith. Save made. Puck is loose right in front of the crease, but it's going to be cleared away by Babb as a stick gets launched high into the air. Now, almost had ourselves a souvenir there, John.
Well, the netting will protect us. I'm just worried about those people in the front row.
Oh, goodness. Georgia controlling in the middle of the neutral zone. Bacon skating in left wing looking for help. He has Bray. Tries to drop it back to Bray, but can't quite get there. Georgia Tech takes it away. Poke check free, and the Jackets turn the puck over in the middle of the neutral zone once again. Taken by Shin. Back to Babb. Babb bounces it off of a Georgia Tech defenseman. It goes back on net as Shin dangles around an attacker on the forecheck for Georgia Tech. And Austin Shin has just drawn a penalty. The second power play of the evening will be forthcoming for Georgia. It's going to be a hooking call on the Yellow Jackets. And now Georgia has pulled the goalie to get the extra attacker on the ice. On the attack, Shelby Sapinari. There's a quick shot at goal! I believe that was number 12, Kyle Kidwell, reaching out and getting that goal. As there was some miscommunication on defense by the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. There was confusion over where the puck was, and suddenly Kidwell found himself with just a yawning open net. He couldn't miss that if he tried. Georgia has taken a 2-1 lead over the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets with 11:44 left to play. Here in period number 2, and that is a huge goal, especially at this junction of the hockey game, where that is exactly what the Ice Dogs needed to get the fans back into it and to get their confidence back.
Well, Kidwell, the tallest player on the ice, 6'5", 205 pounds, a big presence there. 9th goal on the season.
I believe the assist on that is going to go to Peter Kaser, so he continues to rack up the points here for the Ice Dogs. As currently, the linesmen are talking about this situation as number 15 for Georgia Tech, Cole Wright, is going to go to the penalty box. He's going to serve that penalty. Georgia Tech is making the argument that because Georgia scored a goal with the empty net, with the delayed penalty, that he shouldn't have to go to the box. And the referees disagreeing, so Georgia will be on the power play here for the second time tonight. But off the draw, it's won by Georgia Tech, and a great poke check by Kevin Smith to defuse a bad situation. As a shorthanded opportunity developed for Georgia Tech, and the Jackets are still on the attack, and we have a quick whistle, and we're going to have another penalty.
That's going to be against 89. Or is it against Georgia?
We're going to wait and see who gets sent to the cage. No one's been sent just yet. And you are correct, it is going to be number 89 for Georgia Tech. He's not listed on their roster, so I'm going to enjoy this opportunity to figure out who this player actually is. And now the Ice Dogs with a golden opportunity with a 5-on-3 power play for the next minute and 37 seconds. On the ice, Moggy, Kaser, Bacon, Bray, and Kidwell.
I don't think the PA person knows who it is. We had some number changes on behalf of the Jackets.
Well, listen carefully, my friend. We'll see if we can get this figured out after all. They're still sorting it out as the referee is having a conversation there with our official scorekeeper, and I think that might be part of the issue is that we don't actually have any accurate documentation on this player, but we'll get that taken care of. And
they'll talk to Brian McSparron, get a name attached to the number.
This is a great opportunity for the Ice Dogs to make this a 3-1 hockey game with 11:20 left to go in the second period. The face-off, once we have it, is going to be held over to Klein's right. Looks like they've settled on the situation and are ready to drop the puck. Face-off won by Georgia. Bacon had it. Over to Moggy. Moggy racing in left wing. Moggy skating into the slot. Wrist shot goes just wide of the net as Bray had it briefly, but it was poke checked away by the Jackets, but recollected by Kaser. Kaser cross-ice pass. Moggy with a quick shot. He scores! Eric Moggy, the power play goal. And Georgia jumps out to a 3-1 lead over Georgia Tech tonight, courtesy of a beautiful power play goal by Eric Moggy and a great cross-ice pass to set up that goal.
Well, Kaser picks up his second assist on the evening. He's participated in all 3 goals. Moggy with his 12th goal on the season.
And because that was a 5-on-3 power play situation, Georgia will remain on the power play for still a minute and 49 seconds as they strike on the 2-man advantage. Same players on the ice right now for Georgia. Georgia Tech moving things around. Alan DeGessie is on the ice for the Jackets. Kenny McCrary also on the penalty kill, joined by Ryan Krusko. As once again, the referee is having some official words with the timekeeper, making sure everything is straight. This is, of course, the first game ever in Athens, Georgia, so some things are not going to go quite as planned. There will be hiccups, there will be issues, but these will always be worked through, and the end product will be amazing. Cannot wait for the season to start next year for the Ice Dogs.
And that'll be September 20th, hosting the Florida Gators.
What a great way to start the season next year against one of the great rivals that Georgia's had. Oh my goodness, so many great games with Georgia and Florida over the years. It extends to every single sport. Hockey certainly no different. As 21 for Tech, Kenny McCrary tried to lay on a big hit and whiffed and met the ice. Georgia back in the attack. Bray right wing, looking for help. Tries to center one over to Moggy. Moggy has it deep over on the left wing. Trying to feed it back to Bray. Bacon ready at the point, accepts the puck. Bacon holding, thinking about winding up, thinking about it. Wrist shot, weak wrist shot, goes well wide of the net. It was poke check free, and again look directly in front of the net is Kidwell. Fighting for positioning, quick wrist shot by Bacon, and he scores! Credit that goal, at the very least, to the hard work of number 12, Kyle Kidwell, who may have gotten a piece of that goal. He may have redirected into the back of the net, and it looks like Kidwell is going to be credited with that goal. He had been fighting non-stop throughout that entire power play. Again, getting to what we call the dirty areas, the edge of the crease, just trying to make himself a nuisance to the goaltender, to make himself a nuisance to the defenders, and to let something develop around him, and he is rewarded there. Georgia leads Georgia Tech by a score of 4-1 with 10:29 left to go in the second period. 2 power play goals making a big impact for the Ice Dogs tonight.
3 goals in about 90 seconds.
We'll take it. Skating through now, Stephen Bray. Bray, nice little drop pass. Looking for Bacon. They try to feed the point man, but it's tied it back behind the net. Bacon still has it. Back to Bray. Feeds it back to Saponari. Saponari thought about a shot, but instead feeds it back down low to Bacon. Bacon to Bray. Bray behind the net, looking for help. Has Kidwell at the edge of the slot, and it's taken away by the Jackets, who'll go on the rush. That's Galley. Galley with a big slap shot. It goes well wide of the net. Boy, he wound up. You can see that coming from 8 miles away. Georgia the other way. 2-on-1 developing. Bacon over to Bray. Bray racing and goes to the backhand, and he gets hammered as the shot goes wide of the net. As the puck is tied up directly in front of the Georgia bench. Could have been called for too many men on the ice, but instead Tech with a quick shot and a save made on the opportunity from Mitchell Carr, who came racing in. Half the players on Georgia Tech kind of stopped moving on that play because they thought there was going to be a too many men on the ice penalty, as number 4 for Georgia, Jesse Soav, was getting off the ice. The puck hit his skate. Could have been called for that penalty. Wasn't, in a very heads-up play by, well, at least one Yellow Jacket to go in the rush and get a shot on net, and a great save there by Kevin Smith.
Every sport you play till the whistle blows.
Off the face-off, the Jackets once more going on the attack. They got a lot of ground they need to make up. Taken by 15, quick wrist shot, great save by Smith off the opportunity from Cole Wright. Eric Moore sends it around the end boards. Taken back by number 89 for the Jackets, who will be met by a whistle. And we've got another penalty forthcoming. It's going to be an interference call. We'll wait to see who they send off, and it looks as though this will be on Georgia.
Dixon Babb, they go straight to him, and this is going to be Georgia's first penalty of the contest.
Number 13, Ryan Rogowski, is hit with the interference penalty, and the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets will get their first opportunity here to flex their power play unit here, as the face-off will be moved back down inside Georgia's end to Kevin Smith's left.
Now we'll see Kevin Smith be challenged. I thought it was Babb. It looks like that's who they were pointing to, but Rogowski will go off.
Krusko in the face-off circle for the Jackets. He'll square off with Falkenstein. Face-off won by Georgia Tech. They work it back to the point man. That's going to be McCrary. He shoots and he scores.
Well, he shot, but it knocked off number 55, Roberts. He redirected, went off of his leg.
Well, you know, for all the attention that McCrary gets, there's not much that you can do when he's on the power play. And a great scoring chance there for the Jackets. It takes them less than 5 seconds, really, truthfully, on the power play to cash that one in, and they are crediting that one to, indeed, as you noted, number 55, Wesley Roberts, who took that opportunity to get the traffic in front of the net, to redirect that, and as a netminder, there's nothing you can do with a redirection so close to you. Heavy hit back behind the net, and that's another penalty coming, this time against Georgia Tech. It's going to be a boarding call, I believe. And I think 89 is going to be sent back to the box.
He's the one we don't know what name corresponds to that.
It could be Albert Park.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, as they're exchanging a few words after the play, as Nick Carlotto, the big defenseman, is getting into things a little bit with C.J. Layer. The players are separated. And it is going to be 89 sent back to the sin bin for Georgia Tech.
Now,
and we've got a few more fisticuffs here, as once again, Robert Bradford, the 6'1 senior, getting into things with a Georgia Tech player.
looks like Alan Degassi.
It looks like it is a graduate student for the Jackets, and the referee says, we're having none of that. Degassi's going to be sent to the box, and I believe Bradford is going to be sent as well. It's going to be roughing penalties on both players. As Bradford stops by the bench before hitting the box, and tension starting to flare up just a little bit, as you see happen from time to time. And what did I tell you? It's the players with very little to lose, the seniors, the graduate students, the fifth-year players, the guys who, again, they're not going to be suiting up in the red and black or in the gold and navy next year, so why not give it a go in front of a sellout crowd here in Athens, Georgia tonight? They're still sorting out the penalties and figuring out where they're going to have to face off. It looks like it is going to be inside the Georgia Tech end because of that initial penalty to Park. So the face-off will be held to Klein's right. Currently, the referees are having conversations with both coaches as they try to calm things down and keep things from turning into a powder keg here, as you see happen from time to time in hockey matches at various levels.
One of my concerns coming into this matchup was, again, there was and Mike, you can talk to me a bit about this a little bit from your perspective. There's a 2-month, maybe like a 6-week layover between this game and the end of the regular season. I guess it was a little under 2 months. How does conditioning kind of play a part? Are these players still working out even though they know this game's here?
Oh, absolutely. These players work out constantly. They still have regular practices, even during the off season. A lot of times you'll see a lot of these players join leagues to stay fresh, and I know that's how it was back when I played, and that's certainly the case now, as Coach Hughes certainly has a very a strong grip on how to run a tight hockey program here at Georgia. Well, the Ice Dogs in the power play. Bacon skating in the right wing. All the way in, goes to the backhand save made by Klein. And the puck is tied up back behind the net. Georgia Tech trying to get it clear. 1:36 left to go in the Georgia man advantage. Bray cycling the puck around, moving it to Kaser. Quick wrist shot goes wide of the net. Taken by Shin. Quick wrist shot goes well wide once more. It'll be controlled over in the corner by Bacon. Bacon looking for Kaser, couldn't get it to him. Instead it goes back over to Bray. Quick wrist shot doesn't make it through traffic. Pushing it back to Bacon. Cross ice to Bray with a wrist shot and a goal. Tremendous patience there by Stephen Bray as he collected the puck, let it settle on his stick, and unleashed a tremendous wrist shot, beating the netminder low into the stick side, as Georgia now starting to break things open a little bit. It's 5-2 with yet another power play goal.
That's all we've had the last 4 minutes. Power play, power play, power play goal. These teams, when they make a mistake and the player gets sent off for an infraction, they are making them pay.
They absolutely are. That's something that we have seen consistently here all night long. It really, the power play has been the way that these teams have been able to generate pretty much all of their offense tonight.
Especially the second period.
Oh, absolutely. Face-off won by Georgia Tech. Quick wrist shot by Layer. Save made by Smith. He covers up. 7:52 left to play in the second period. Got to keep an eye on these players again after the whistle, as the sticks tend to get a little bit high. And of course, the defensemen always need to protect their goalie. Face-off coming to Smith's right. Falkenstein in the circle. Loses the draw to right. Another quick shot. It'll be covered up, as Dixon Babb is very quick to escort Michael Sant away from the crease. Same players, Wright against Falkenstein in the circle. Draws one by Georgia this time. Shin is going to be tied up by a couple of Georgia Tech players, and eventually the Jackets will take it away and try to go on the attack. Puck is thrown in the middle, but no one home on the centering pass. Georgia regains control and will finally clear the end. Jackets moving in left wing is Lair. Lair skating in around Falkenstein. Lair tries to go to the backhand, shoots it right into a defenseman. Puck is still tied up, loosen their skates. Over to Peter Kaser, had it briefly, then lost it. Now the Jackets back on the attack. Big number 15, Wright. Cole Wright is going to be hauled down by Babb on a big hit. Surprisingly, no penalty called there. Georgia will take it. Puck is loose in the slot. It'll eventually be cleared away by Babb. Oh, goodness. The netminder Smith was down and out, but a heads-up play by his defenseman to bail out the goalie and clear that puck at the end. Quick wrist shot, easy paddle save made there by Kevin Smith. Not breaking too much of a sweat here tonight. Georgia controlling deep in their own end. It goes around the end boards, heading towards the half boards. Quick shot, safe made by Smith, and the rebound will be held in narrowly by the Jackets. Galley had it briefly and now has it once more as they try to push it in on the edge of the net. Fighting for it is Mitchell Carr. Now Galley, puck is loose at the side of the net as Carr is going to be hammered several times, and in this case, the referee lost vision of where that puck was,
right,
and so he blew it dead.
Yeah, Shin was there, Falkenstein was there covering Mitchell Carr. Also there again, number 81, Nick Galley. He's listed as a forward, but when he goes back into play defense, I swear he reminds me of Zeno Chara. The big hulking defensive presence back there.
He is a large gentleman. The fact that we are seated ringside, we are in chairs, we are at ice level. We're actually on ice right now. The way the surface is designed, the ice surface actually extends well beyond the boards. So we've been walking around, we've been sitting on ice this entire time here in our little perch that we happen to have.
Yeah, I just wrote a note to myself, if I ever come back here, wear 2 pairs of socks.
Alongside John Morgo, I'm Mike Tingle. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. It's the first ever hockey game in Athens, Georgia. After 27 years of Georgia ice hockey playing games in Atlanta and the surrounding areas, finally hockey has come home.
They're trying to do the T-shirt bazooka. However, their first shot did not clear the glass.
It's a brand new bazooka gun. I think they're still working on kind of the ramping up the difficulty level just a little bit there. Georgia Hockey Tonight is brought to you in part by the UGA Hockey Booster Club. For more information about joining the Georgia Hockey Booster Club, visit UGAHockeyFoundation.com. Tonight's broadcast is also brought to you by Ameritrans, safely taking you the distance. Boy, what a great night it's been so far. 6:32 left to go here in the second period. Georgia leading Georgia Tech 5-2. There have been a lot of great Georgia alums that have made their way back out here for this game tonight. I've seen a lot of great players from Georgia's past, some guys that have taken them on great runs, goaltenders, defensemen, everyone. I mean, people have come from far and wide for this. I myself traveled from Winston-Salem, North Carolina to make it here for this game, and right now I'm going to leave a happy man. Georgia with a 3-goal lead with 6:32 left to go in the second frame as the faceoff will be held to Kevin Smith's right.
Shows a lot of dedication for all the alumni to come here on a Wednesday night. I came from work.
Faceoff is won by Georgia Tech and Mitchell Carr, but it's going to be very quickly taken away and turned back over. They'll swing it wide back and forth throughout the neutral zone. Both teams trying to gain an advantage as Babb sends one in deep, bounces off of a defenseman, so they'll wave off the, no, they won't wave off the icing. Guess he didn't see that deflect off of a defenseman, and the faceoff move back down deep inside the Georgia end. Defensively right now for the Ice Dogs, they've got Dixon Babb and number 42, Nick Carlotto on the ice. Offensively, it's Bacon out there with Bray and also Kyle Kidwell. Face-off won by the Jackets. Quick slap shot is weak, goes wide of the net, collected by Carlotto. Carlotto has it back behind the net. He's going to slow things down, try to organize a breakout for the Ice Dogs. Up to Bacon. Bacon's going to be hit hard there by Carr. Correction on that, that was Eric Moore with the hit as the Jackets will regroup in the middle of the neutral zone. Moving through all the way is Mitchell Carr, trying to get through 3 Ice Dogs, has it taken away by Kidwell. Kidwell turns it back over to Galley, and a nice kick save made again by Smith. Dump back behind the net. There'll be a battle in the corner to try to pull it back down. Galley fighting for it with Kidwell and Babb. Puck is loose in the slot. No one there for Georgia Tech, and the Ice Dogs will clear it back out to center ice. Under 5:30 left to go here in the second period. Georgia 5, Georgia Tech 2. Ice Dogs on the attack. Bacon with a slap shot. Goes off the skate of Alan DeGessi. We'll have our face-off. Should be inside the Georgia Tech end, coming to the left of Michael Klein.
Well, Klein's been able to settle down a little bit after that flurry of goals, but the key for this section is no power plays have been whistled on either team.
5:19 left to go here in the second period. Georgia with a 3-goal advantage, courtesy of 3 huge power play goals here in the second period. Skating up over in the left wing, and the Georgia Tech trying to go on the attack. Number 11 with a quick wrist shot will be sticked aside there by Kevin Smith. Fought in the corner, Shin working around a couple of Jackets. Tech trying to hold the line, can't do it. Big hit late on there by Stiles for Georgia. Tech regrouping in their own end as the puck goes back and forth in the neutral zone, taken by Alex French. French had it, lost it. It'll go all the way back deep inside the Georgia end. Now it'll be held into the neutral zone and then pushed back in deep. Stiles controlling. At least trying to regain control, but Georgia Tech will come away across the blue, across the red. Skating quickly up the left wing is Ryan Krusko. Krusko with a wrist shot. Save made by Smith. And it comes to the near corner. Heavy hit laid on there by Austin Shin. They'll get the fans going once again just a little bit. There's another quick wrist shot, goes just wide of the net on the scoring chance by Kenny McCrary. The puck floats back directly in front of us. Shin working on McCrary. McCrary still has it. Hit hard again by Stiles. And it's poke checked away by French, but he can't get to the puck as Georgia Tech regains possession. They're just going to dump this one in and try to get a line change, but it's going to be deflected wide. Georgia with a chance for an odd man rush as Falkenstein skates in, and they're going to whistle that.
Offsides.
On and offsides. 4:03 left to go here in the second period. Georgia 5 and Georgia Tech 2. The second half of this second period really picking up with the speed and with the intensity.
Oh, we've had 5 goals in about 4 minutes. A 4-minute period, all on power plays.
Yeah, that'll do it. Face off in the neutral zone taken by Georgia Tech. CJ Layer has it, sends it wide of the net. Back to get it will be Peter Kaser for Georgia. Kaser skating up the left wing. He loves to try to go coast to coast. Let's see what he does here. Across the red, across the blue. Kaser coast to coast. Wrist shot goes just wide of the net. Tried to pick the near corner. Puck is loose in front. Empty net. And a goal!
A lot of bodies crashing the net.
I'm going to credit that one to Michael Falkenstein. Seemed like he was the only Georgia player in the area. Bodies were hitting the ice all over the place. And Georgia has opened this one up. It's 6-2 Ice Dogs over Georgia Tech. You can see the frustration starting to bubble up a little bit on the Georgia Tech bench, and they're going to credit that goal actually to number 19, Alex Witchell, the freshman from Detroit, Michigan. Scoring that goal here tonight, and with 3:41 left to go in the second period. Georgia really starting to open things up. We're going to have a very, very interesting third period of action, especially if the physicality continues to get ratcheted up.
7 goals on the campaign for Alex Witchell.
And now the Jackets going on the attack again. It's going to be Kerr with a quick wrist shot, goes wide of the net. Mitchell Carr, should I say. Tech can't hold the line there on the opportunity for Eric Moore, and Georgia will poke it free loose in the middle of the neutral zone. Falkenstein fighting for it over in the far corner, rubbed off the puck by Eric Moore. Controlled again by Kaser fighting for it. Several players coming together in the scrum. Galley trying to get a piece of it. Sapinari has it. Thought about the wrist shot, dumps it back in. Feeds back over to Kaser. Kaser right to left. Thought about the wrist shot, dangles a little, lost control of the puck. And it'll be taken away by the Jackets. Let's see if Georgia Tech can get the odd man rush going the other way. It's Park skating in. Can't get the quick wrist shot to go. And it's loose in their corner. Tied up, Galley fighting for it. Witchell also part of that scrum there for Georgia. Several players mixing it up. Jackets hold the line, taken by DeGessi. Back behind the net to Galley. Galley throws it in front. Puck is loose. No shot on net. Still loose. A quick shot doesn't make it through traffic. Georgia going the other way. 2-on-1 opportunity. Bray trying to feed Witchell, and it goes well wide of him.
That was Sapinari who started that rush by flipping it out.
Tech trying to come back the other way, racing in. And quickly having the pocket picked by Bray. Up the right wing, Stephen Bray slowing things down, looking for help. He can drop it back to the point. You've got several players out there. Sepinari holds the line. Sepinari had lost it, and now Georgia Tech has a 2-on-1 developing. Racing in, that's number 21, Kenny McCrary. McCrary dishes it off. That's a bad decision. They won't even get a shot out of that. And we have a whistle here, and we might have had a little bit of action there, as I saw that Babb actually started throwing some slashes Kenny McCrary's way.
Well, that was Andrew Cryon, number 11, who couldn't handle couldn't get a shot off after the dish back from McCrary.
Andrew Cryon's been all over the ice tonight. He's made an impact this season, played in 9 games for the Jackets, has 2 assists and 4 penalty minutes. As the puck is still deep inside the Georgia end. There's a quick cannoning shot by Lair. A nice paddle save made by Kevin Smith as Georgia manages to clear the end. Pushing the Jackets deep inside their own side. It's loose in the middle of the neutral zone and collected by Lair. Quick wrist shot chance there, fanned on by 24 for the Jackets. And another shot comes in, gloved down by Smith.
Another slip. He tried to get that shot off, but couldn't quite do it. Skates went out from under him. Can't quite get the shot off. You know, that goal by Wutschel back at the 3:41 mark. First even strength goal this period.
1:14 left to go here in the second period. Georgia leading Georgia Tech 6-2. Live from the Classic Center in Athens, Georgia tonight. Falkenstein wins the draw for Georgia. Ice Dogs trying to get it clear. Can't do it. Fighting for it is Shin. Taken by Galley, trying to feed the point man. He does. Back over to Carr, dumping into the far side. Park tried to get some help. He couldn't get it. Georgia will clear the end as it's loose in the middle of the neutral zone. We're well under a minute to play. 50 seconds remaining here on the clock in the second period. Georgia trying to get one last sustained attack here. 40 seconds left to play here in the second. Both teams a little bit exhausted at this point. As the puck goes the length of the ice, they will wave off the icing. As Galley was there briefly, he still has it. 25 seconds left to go here in the period. They feed it back to the point man. Big slap shot and a goal scored by number 5 for Georgia Tech, Eric Moore, who just let go a wicked slap shot from the edge of the right circle. Well placed, well executed, beating Kevin Smith. And once again, in the late going of a period, Georgia Tech strikes to suck some of the energy out of this crowd. It's 6-3. Ice Dogs lead it with 17 seconds left to go in the second period.
Well, it's still a 3-goal match heading into the second intermission, but you're right, it did suck some of the energy out of here. And again, if we eliminate all the power plays, we're looking at a 2-2 game. Fortunately for Georgia, they're converting on 4 of their 5 power plays.
10 seconds remain here in the second period. That's probably going to do it as time ticks off the clock here in the Classic Center tonight. And the second period of action is in the books. Georgia leading Georgia Tech by a count of 6-3. Man, that was a tremendous amount of action and a flurry of activity there in that second period. You've got the scoring summary right there. Give us a quick rundown of how we got to this point of this game.
Well, all the main action occurred within a 4-minute time frame. At 11:44, it was Kidwell who got things going. He had his goal again on a power play. And really the effect on that power play, very key, as it hadn't been whistled yet. Georgia was able to convert on that before the power play even got started. So Georgia Tech argued, okay, the power play should not count because of that, because they already got the goal, but since they were not at shorthanded during that argument went, and then we had the flurry of penalties. Cole Wright got called for hooking, and then Albert Park got whistled as well, and then Georgia scored again at the 11 minutes and 8-second mark. Eric Maggi with a goal as an assist from Peter Kaser. That made it 3-1. Then a little bit later, 10:29 remaining, David Bacon got a goal. I'm sorry, it was he shot in and it went off of Kidwell, so Kidwell was credited with his second goal of the festivities, made it 4-1 with 10:29 remaining. And then Georgia got called for an interference play on Rogowski, and it was Wesley Roberts, number 55, the defenseman, who converted on a redirect. It hit right in his legs, went in past Kevin Smith. That made it 4-2. Finally, after some fisticuffs between Park going and Bradford and DeGassi going at it for a roughing penalty at the 8:52 mark, a little bit halfway into that, we had a goal from Stephen Bray converting, and that made it 5-2, and that was it for all the power play actions. Two more even strength goals. The first one for Georgia, that took place at the 3:41 mark on Alex Wutchell, his 7th goal of the season. That made it 6-2. And then in the final stages of the period, a goal by Eric Moore, his 9th, made it 6-3, and that's where we stand here at the second intermission. A flurry of goals, all off that power play. Georgia very effective on their power play attack. I believe they're 80%, 4 or 5.
20 minutes of action left to go here inside the Classic Center in Athens, Georgia. If you're making a call on the player of the game at this point, who is your pick?
Well, right now, Kidwell's making a good case with the 2 goals, but Peter Kaser, he's had 1 goal and 2 assists, so he's got most points, and he's definitely a good candidate for the Georgia star of the game.
You can certainly make a great point for him and for a number of other Ice Dogs out there tonight. The Chuck-a-Puck has concluded. We are safe. That's always a nice thing to see as we get set for the final 20 minutes of action here in Athens, Georgia tonight. And you had the opportunity again before the game to catch up with some very important people as it relates to Georgia hockey and as it relates to what's going on here inside the Classic Center and what's going on in Athens in general. You had the opportunity to talk with the executive director of the Classic Center, Paul Kramer, and we played that back for you in the first intermission. I believe you also had a chance to chat with the Georgia head hockey coach, if I can squeeze that out, John Hoos.
Yes, I spoke with John Hoos. He was a very busy man, but I'm grateful that he was able to squeeze in about 5 minutes with me, and we're going to play that for you right now here on Georgia Ice Hockey. They're up 6-3.
Well, we're continuing our intermission right now. I'm John Morgan. I'm here with Georgia head hockey coach John Hoos. And Coach Hoos, this has got to be the culmination of a lot of work and a lot of energy, a lot of sweat to get to this night.
It's really a culmination of 27 years of a lot of sweat equity from so many different people, going all the way back to the beginning with Larry Hall, the team founder, who's here tonight with us, and everything up to, including tonight, just putting this all together and the excitement that this is generating, not only in this building but in this town. It's electric.
It is, because it's sold out very quickly, and when I was in the arena, the adjective I used to describe it is cozy. There's not a bad seat in the house.
It's really, you fill every square inch of this building is filled up. The seat's great. There isn't a bad seat in the house, and I think the fans are going to get their money's worth tonight.
Now, you've already got the schedule, the home dates for next season set. How important was it to get those dates set so you have something to sell for the season tickets?
Well, we wanted fans coming to this game to know there's 20 games coming next season, and that's what we've done, and working great with the Classic Center, and it's exciting because we're selling season tickets right now for next year, and the fans that are feeling the energy, they want to come back for 20 games.
Yeah, I expect you're going to sell a lot of those packages here tonight. Let's talk about the team, if you don't mind. It's 7-11. So it's not exactly a quality season. I mean, it's been a down season, 1-7 in the conference. What are the bright spots that you're looking at?
Well, we really have had a tale of two seasons. The first half of the season was a bit of a struggle. We had some close games that we dropped. But the second half of the season, we got some players healthy. We had some players return to the roster, and we really turned it around. We were 6-3 in the second half of the season. A couple games that we lost were to top three opponents, top three ranked opponents. So we really turned things around in the second half of the season, and really that really is going to jumpstart us to next season. We hope this game will do so again, but we've been talking all night about all afternoon and really the last 3 weeks about having to come in with the energy, the work ethic. You got to outwork your opponent to win, and that's what we're hoping to do tonight.
How important has Peter Kaser been to your team?
Well, he's obviously a top goal we certainly try to distribute that puck to him, but he also draws a crowd, so he's dishing the puck out and getting some assists as well, and I'm sure he's going to do that again for the rest of the game here.
Listening to your pregame press conference, you said that this is just another step. What is some of the other steps that you're envisioning down the road?
Well, we'll take it one step at a time, but we're excited about this step, getting a home rink in Athens, being able to bring the game to the student body a block away and to the Athens community, and we're gonna run with that and really try to continue to build the program, and in the next in the future we're gonna try to be prepared as a program. When we're ready to take that next step, whatever it may be, we'll be ready for it.
Well, congratulations, Coach. It's a beautiful facility. Looking forward to many more nights here.
Thank you very much.
All right, that was Coach John Hoos, and we will swing it back to the booth and more here from the Georgia Tech Georgia hockey match, the inaugural game here at the Athens Classic Center. So we're going to have more right on the backside of this break. You're watching Georgia Tech Ice Hockey here on the Sports Utility Vehicle SUV.TV.
You could say rinkside. Another step in the evolution of the Georgia ice hockey program. They've been here for a very long time, and now the hockey team has come home. This has been a very festive atmosphere going on today, and this is continuing it here. 6-3 is your score. We are in the middle of our second intermission. The Zamboni is back on the court, resurfacing the ice. And my big question, I know as Paul Kramer told me during the first intermission during our conversation that we held before the game, the Zamboni got here on Monday. It is probably the most obvious facet of a hockey game, and I was just wondering, the person driving it, how long does it take to learn how to drive a Zamboni? That is my question.
I know guys have been driving a Zam for 15 years. They're still terrible at it. It's an acquired skill, and to be the Zamboni driver is a position of honor. It really is. For everything that I've done in the hockey world, from being a player to being a broadcaster to public address to helping out any way I possibly can, not once have I ever driven a Zamboni. And it is a tremendous honor, one that I certainly don't think that I've earned, and I don't want to be the guy that puts that puppy into the boards just the same.
Well, you hear a lot of stories about the Zamboni being taken out, and I'm just kind of wondering if we're going to have a case of a drive-through clerk at a Zaxby's holding an order out the window and handing it to a person in a Zamboni.
Oh, goodness.
I was wondering if that is going to happen. Someone's going to take the Zamboni on a late-night pizza run, which would be interesting to see. Of course, that means that the person who was driving the Zamboni would no longer drive the Zamboni.
That would be very interesting to see. Alongside John Morgo, I'm Mike Tingle. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight for the debut of ice hockey in Athens, Georgia. The Georgia Ice Dogs leading the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets by a tally of 6-3. And John, it's my understanding that you with all your play-by-play jobs that you do and the work you do in Atlanta, you don't get the opportunity to spend as much time around hockey as you would ultimately like. And what are your thoughts so far on the overall experience that you've garnered from here tonight?
Well, it has been a fast-paced game. Maybe not seeing as many fireworks as you would expect from a top-level matchup like NHL or an ECHL that we see in Gwinnett. We did see a little bit during that stretch with about a 4-minute stretch in the middle of the second period where we did see tempers flare a little bit, and as you've mentioned, it was largely the seniors. They have nothing to lose. They're going to, in most instances, this will be their final night, though this will probably be Peter Kaser's final night, capping a stellar career wearing the red and black, and it's just very good for him that he's able to go out in front of his home fans. But yeah, it's been a great night here tonight. As we said, there is no bad view in this building. A lot of good sight lines, and it's kind of weird because we are in an exhibition hall. We're not in a stadium by the conventional sense of the word. It has required a great deal of imagination on the part of the Athens Chamber of Commerce, the Athens Classic Center executive staff to envision putting a hockey facility in this building. And now that they've done it, it kind of opens up so many new possibilities for where you can grow hockey in this city. As I said during our last intermission, it's got to be at the grassroots level, and this building is going a long way toward hopefully getting that growth that we need to see at the bottom of the grassroots, the youth leagues, the middle school leagues. That's what needs to be put in about, and hopefully this will get people's interest going and get the kids involved in this.
The response has been absolutely overwhelming from the community, from people who are getting involved, from media members who are covering this event. I mean, this has been a full-on push. We haven't been able to show you any shots of it because of where our cameras are located out here tonight, but there is a full-on hockey festival which is going on just past the boards that we're at right now, and that we have all kinds of events for kids. There's inflatables. They have opportunities for you to shoot on a makeshift netminder. You can put your feet in these special skate simulators and slide back and forth. There's all kinds of great stuff that's going on to make this really fun for the whole family, and I think that response is going to be exponential in terms of what we see in terms of season ticket purchases, because we had over 100 season tickets purchased in just 24 hours of having them be available.
And this facility only holds, what was it, about 200, 300?
This facility holds about 2,100. 2,100,
okay. 2,100 people, so this, and it did sell out in about a week. And the home schedule for next season has already been released, 20 dates, and you're going to see a lot of SEC and schools. Let's go over who we're going to see. We're going to see Auburn 3 times. We're going to see Florida State twice. We're also going to see teams from Florida, Tennessee, LSU, Mississippi State, Citadel, South Carolina, Clemson, Georgia Tech, Alabama, and Life University. All those teams, including a couple of special games, a U.S. Armed Forces Night on November 23rd. The Team USA ACHA National Selects Team, which I guess is an all-star team. They'll be here close to Christmas, December 27th. And a very interesting matchup on September 28th against UGA alumni. And Mike, have you been asked to man the pipes for that contest?
You know, I oddly enough, a lot of people have asked me to man the pipes for all of next season. That's because all of these people that have asked that have not actually heard this terrible broadcast I'm doing tonight. I am rusty as all get out, but that could be a fun one. The Georgia alumni game is a great event every single year, because a guy like John Hoos, despite his appearance, he can actually still get out there and throw down just a little bit, as can a lot of the other members of the coaching staff. The alumni game is always a ton of fun each and every year, and it's going to be even more fun. And we're here in this beautiful, gorgeous facility, which I will put up against just about any venue that Georgia will play in, because over the years traveling with this Georgia hockey team, we have been to some rough places, I can promise you that. We once played the Florida Gators. I think it was at a venue called Ice World, if I'm not mistaken, where we actually lost power during the game and the ice melted.
Oh, that's not good.
Largely unexpected. I mean, there are a lot of places, and each individual venue that you see is set up significantly different. I know down at South Florida, they have a very large, very high ceiling, a high roof. It's the exact opposite out in Tempe, Arizona, where the Arizona State Sun Devils play, where they have banners that hang down so low they regularly interfere with the puck play whenever it gets a little too high in the air. Each venue is different. Each venue is unique. I know Embry-Riddle, which is a small aeronautical college in Daytona Beach, Florida, they were on the schedule for a very, very long time. I think they changed divisions, but that is one of those venues that I never wanted to go to, because that was a fan base where you stood a very good chance to get pelted with some batteries or just something coming from the crowd out there at that particular venue. Every venue is different, and now Georgia has something spectacular to be able to showcase to everyone in the SEC Hockey Conference and honestly throughout with the rest of the non-conference schedule. And it's always a big day when you're able to debut your facility and show it off. It almost feels like Georgia hockey is kind of being born again tonight, a new beginning for this Georgia hockey team, even though they've been around for 27 years. And Georgia's been a part of a lot of firsts as well. Georgia hockey has actually a number of different teams have taken to the ice for the first time ever against Georgia. I will never forget, Georgia played at South Carolina in the Gamecocks' first ever game, and it was just an overwhelming victory for the Georgia Ice Dogs. But at the end of the game, the South Carolina players, they weren't down about it. They were excited. They were like, man, did you hear the sound it made when that dude hit my pads? It was incredible. Did you see such and such in the stands? They were excited to be playing hockey at a high competitive level here in the ACHA. That again, I've said time and time again, it is not the NCAA. It is the ACHA. It is non-varsity. There is a difference. And unfortunately, a lot of that difference is a financial difference that puts a lot of the burden on the players and a lot on outside fundraising, things like ticket sales and of course on merchandise. But to see and hear, you know, a team like South Carolina from their very first game ever and that experience and just the sheer joy, it was like all those players out there were playing hockey for the very first time. And you got to think that when Georgia gets off the ice at the end of the third period tonight, there's going to be a little bit that same sort of youthful jubilation like they just got done playing for the very first time, even though some of these guys may be suiting up for the last time ever.
Exactly, like Peter Kaser, who is going to cap a stellar career tonight, and so far he has come through a goal and 2 assists. Also for Georgia, Kyle Kidwell with a pair of goals, Eric Moggy with a goal and an assist, Stephen Bray with a goal, and Alex Wuschel with a goal on his end. So 6-3 is your score as we get ready, getting close to the end of the second intermission. Mike Tingle, John Morgan. I want to also thank Marcus Burnett, the person behind our webcast, our director / executive producer. I want to thank him for getting these great shots of this facility streamed live to you. And if you are interested in season tickets for the UGA Hockey Ice Dogs for that 2014-2015 campaign, there's a couple places you can go. You can point your web browser to classiccenter.com. That's one way to do it. Or if you're back in the Stone Age and use a phone, you can call 706-357-4444. Or you can visit the ticket office right here on 300 North Thomas Street, just a block north of the main UGA campus.
Tonight's broadcast is being brought to you in part by the UGA Hockey Booster Club. To learn more about how you can support UGA hockey here at this gorgeous new venue now and into the future, visit UGAHockeyFoundation.com. Tonight's game is also brought to you in part by Ameritrans, safely taking you the distance. Well, we're about ready to get the third period underway. The final 30 seconds are ticking off the clock, and I can tell you this right now. We knew that we were going to have a physical third period going in even before the sticks started to get high and words started to get exchanged. I can guarantee you there'll be some heavy hits and some words exchanged, maybe a few gloves dropped as well here in the final 20 minutes of the first ever game here in Athens, Georgia tonight.
Exactly, the old Rodney Dangerfield joke coming to life here, possibly, as some of these seniors and graduate students play their last game on college ice.
Well, the goaltenders will stay the same as Kevin Smith, the junior from Alpharetta, Georgia. Sociology major remains in net. He's had a very good night despite letting in 3 goals. And still in net for the Jackets is number 37, Michael Klein.
Yeah, we thought we'd see C.J. Lair in goal. Lair again with a 7-2 record. He's been in goal for 775 minutes, 3.79 goals against average, 1 shutout, and that was a match against the Citadel on November 1st, 7-0 victory. Georgia Tech, again, they won their last game 8-6, and they lost 2 before that, 1 to Georgia 7-3 and 1 to Clemson 6-3.
You know, it's hard to believe that we're saying goodbye to Peter Kaser after such a great career. You take a look at the UGA record book, and again, he is just all over it. You take a look at what he's done on a season-by-season basis. And that year he had in 2011-2012 was just such an amazing year. He set the Georgia record for goals, for points, for shorthanded goals that season, and he set it all by a wide margin. His point total, he had 81 points that season, taking over the mark of Lee Bosma, who had the joy of watching play for a good chunk there. He played back in 2009, 2010, but he beat Lee's mark by a 12-goal differential. Amazing, absolutely amazing. Well, we're underway now, the third period of hockey here in Athens town tonight. It's 6-3, Georgia on top of Georgia Tech, and the Jackets trying to go on the attack immediately and abruptly met with a defensive force as now Moggy racing in for Georgia, skating in left wing, looking for help, and so he's going to skate in behind the net. Thought about the wraparound, goes right back to him, still loose edge of the slot, can't clear. Yes, he can clear, as Soev couldn't quite hold the line. Who's calls him Suave? Felt like I should drop that at least once during this broadcast. Georgia Tech controlling deep inside their own end. Alan DeGeese works it deep. Georgia Tech will change things up on the defensive end. Park pinning it in deep, getting a little bit of help there from Cole Wright. Puck comes nearly free. It's held in as they push it over on the far side, over to Eric Moore. Moore with a quick wrist shot, doesn't make it through traffic. It's at the edge of the crease. Taken away by Sapinari. She can't clear. Controlled again by Galley for Tech. Trying to throw it in front for Park, but nobody home. Rubbed off the puck there. I think that's Falkenstein. As Tech is able to once again hold the line. The Jackets getting some good opportunities here in the opening minutes of the third period, trying to cut this 3-goal deficit as Georgia ices the puck. The face-off will come back to Kevin Smith's left.
Well, that's what we've seen the entire each start of the period. A lot of flurry of activity on Georgia Tech's side in the offensive zone, but they're getting off weak shots each time.
In the face-off circle for Georgia's Michael Falkenstein. He'll square off against Ryan Krusko for the Jackets. The linesman set the players and drop the puck. Draw won by Georgia. Ice Dogs going on the attack. Peter Kaser, as he fights through a man, gets pulled down. No penalty called there, and Georgia Tech will go the other way.
Yeah, it was Jeremy Omes pulling him down.
McCrary racing all the way in, goes to the backhand shot. Nice save there by Smith, and Georgia tries to clear. They'll send it all the way back down the length of the ice. They're going to wave off the icing, collected by Omes. Turned over, though, taken by Bacon. Bacon racing in, quick shot, save made. Puck loose in the slot and taken away by McCrary. Left wing for the Jackets. Georgia Tech needing to develop some kind of attack. They got a lot of ground to make up and very little time to do it as Kevin Smith covers the errant puck. 17:46 left to go here in the final frame. Georgia with a 3-goal lead.
6-3 favor of the Dogs. And if Georgia wants to increase the lead, we know they do, and maybe they can try to go Tech into some penalties, and because they've been exploiting the penalty kill unit.
The massive Nick Galley wins the draw for Georgia Tech. Shot goes on net, easy kick save made by Smith. And the puck is going to be shot wide, and Georgia will control and try to clear this one back out in the middle of the neutral zone, but they can't quite get it back out. Tech doing a great job holding the line on the forecheck. Galley trying to go to the backhand, can't do it. Georgia once again tries to clear. They clear it directly into their own bench.
I didn't mean to do that. Hit the Georgia player and came back out.
Changes being made for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets as they'll mix up the lines just a little bit. Mitchell Carr's back out on the ice for Georgia Tech along with Brandon Gadet. Carr in the faceoff circle wins the draw for Georgia Tech. They're getting a lot sharper in the faceoff circle as this game has worn on. Georgia trying to get it clear. Bray kicks it back door to, I think that's going to be Babb. Babb dangles around a few guys. They're going to play a little dump and chase here as the puck goes back behind the netminder. Taken back away by DeGessie. Nice job getting in there, doing some dirty work by Kyle Kidwell, trying to poke check that puck free, but Georgia Tech once again coming away with it. Racing free is Cole Wright, right wing. Looking for a little bit of space, slows it down, dumps it back behind Smith. He's got more help. I think that's Galley. Correction on that, it's DeGessie. Left wing it goes, poke check free, taken by Georgia. I believe that's Bacon. Racing all the way through, all the way in, David Bacon, as he throws it in front, but a great job defensively by the Jackets to take away the scoring chance. Alan DeGessie playing some textbook hockey 101. 2-on-2, the Jackets go back the other way. Play quickly broken up defensively by the Ice Dogs and Robert Bradford.
Maybe Bacon waited a little too long before putting that puck on net.
Again, played very well by the Jackets to break up that scoring chance. But at this point, Georgia just trying to tack on that extra point with 16 minutes left to play in the third period. We've got a late penalty coming here against Georgia. It looks like it might be a boarding call. as we wait to see who they're going to send to the box, as Georgia Tech is about to get another power play opportunity here tonight.
That
That's number 8 for Georgia.
That's
That's Austin Shin, the freshman from Duluth. Will be sent to the cage. 2 minutes for boarding, and Tech now goes on the power play. Ryan Krusko is going to take the face-off draw for the Jackets as we get another good look at that talented power play unit. Anchored at the point by Kenny McCrary. Aided by Eric Moore. Draw won by the Jackets. McCrary has it. Skating left wing. Plays it off the boards. Left wing looking for some help for Kaiser. Held in narrowly by Moore. They dump this one weakly on Smith, who'll just glove it down. He's had to make some awkward saves tonight. Not difficult so much as just awkward shots that have come trickling in, knuckle pucks that come in that are not the typical standard fare that you get used to seeing as a hockey goalie.
I think he's only had one hard shot, and that was during the second period.
Kudos to the Georgia defense for pulling that off, as once again Smith will cover off a quick face-off. 15:46 left to go in the third, 1:42 left in the man advantage for Georgia Tech. If you're Georgia, you would love to get a face-off win here. I believe Michael Falkenstein is in the circle against Krusko, and this one will be won by Tech. A hammered shot by McCrary goes well wide. Jackets still controlling, but finally taken away, but back to McCrary. McCrary with a quick wrist shot. Doesn't make it through traffic as it floats back into the near corner.
I like the way Georgia has taken McCrary out of this game.
McCrary with a weak wrist shot, didn't get anything on it, and it's going to be covered by Smith. Watch out, he's in a prone position. But fortunately, the Jackets skate away before they have to be escorted out. 15:24 left to go in the third period. 6-3, Georgia leading Georgia Tech with 1:20 left in the Tech man advantage.
Looking over McCrary on the bench, he went in, got a new piece of lumber. I thought he was going to come out, but now he's talking over with his head coach, Brian McSparron, who's in his 4th year, head man for the Yellow Jackets.
Face-off coming to Kevin Smith's right. Draws one once again by the Jackets. They have just been dominating in the face-off circle, especially here in the third period. Galley fighting forward in the neutral zone as Georgia pushes Tech back deep inside their own end. As we have 1 minute remaining in the penalty kill for the Ice Dogs. Left wing to McCrary, being worked on by Braid. Tries to dangle around a couple of players, can't do it as he gets pushed to the end boards. Several players coming together fighting for the puck. Mitchell Carr pokes it free. Back to the point to Gassi with a quick shot. Didn't make it through traffic, and Georgia will clear this one down the length of the ice. They needed that.
They needed that to take the time off. Good job by McCrary. Kept one of the Bulldogs off that to intercept the pass.
Galley now racing in. He's working 1-on-3. They're going to shut that down real quick as Galley works over in the far corner. Bray contributing. 30 seconds left in the penalty kill for Georgia. 14:30 left in regulation time. Georgia with a 6-3 advantage. McCrary holding in the left wing. Cross ice pass. Gadet working. Back behind the net. Carr has it jarred free, and Georgia will clear once again. That's just about going to do it with the Georgia penalty kill. The final 10 seconds ticking off the clock. And the Jackets won't even get one last rush as Georgia kills the penalty, and both teams are back to even strength. 14 minutes remaining here in the third frame. Georgia 6, Georgia Tech 3. The Jackets need to make something happen offensively. They've had numerous chances on that power play, winning face-off to face-off, but nothing came of it. Moore's going to dump this one back in deep. The Jackets thought about a line change. Instead, they're going to stay with what they have. Carlotto tried to clear the line, couldn't do it, held back in by Moore. Behind the net, Carlotto pokes it free. Still jammed along the end boards, finally set far left wing. Jeremy Omas tried to hold the line, couldn't do it. It's a breakaway for David Bacon. Bacon in, backhand shot. Oh, what a great save there by Michael Klein. That's his save of the night. Denying Bacon on the backhand.
Tried to backhand it, but then the net got loose and Klein put it back in.
Now Tech goes right back to work deep inside the Georgia end. It's going to be cleared out, and now we have a foot race as Bacon races down to the corner, gives up, decides to play defense as Moore works it through. Into the neutral zone, moving across. Zaski gave it a look. Now dumping it back over to Park, right wing. Park with a quick wrist. Easy paddle down save made by Smith, and a big hit in the corner as Park got tangled up.
Official timeout.
with, I believe that was Michael Falkenstein. And with that, we have an official timeout with 12:49 left to go in the third. 6-3 Georgia, leading Georgia Tech in Athens, Georgia tonight. Alongside John Morgo, I'm Mike Tingle. Thank you so much for joining us here for this webcast at UGAHockey.com, or perhaps you're watching on YouTube, or perhaps you're even enjoying the link that Georgia Tech put over their website. Thanks to Georgia Tech Ice Hockey for doing that. As the t-shirt toss is
well, they can't
in
put
full
it.
effect.
Yeah, well, they can't do it back here because the netting's in the way.
I see they've retired the t-shirt cannon, by the way.
I think they couldn't get enough pressure on it to clear the windows, and they had that problem in the second period. 6-3 is your score. 12:49 remaining here in regulation.
Once again, I want to thank all of our outstanding sponsors while we have a chance. The UGA Hockey, I can't even say it right, my goodness. The UGA Hockey Booster Club, as you see on your screen right there, that is the UGA Hockey Foundation. To find more information about them, go to UGAHockeyFoundation.com. And they're also brought to you by Ameritrans, safely taking you the distance. You know, I got up this morning. The alarm went off at 4 a.m., was on the road by 4:30 from Winston-Salem, North Carolina to make it here, to make the radio talk show circuit, to hype up the game. Came here and enjoyed our production meeting, getting to know all the fine folks over here at the Sports Utility Vehicle, and then we had a little hockey game. But I tell you what, at 4 a.m. starting to weigh a little heavy on me right now.
I can imagine. Last time I drove from Winston-Salem, it was to do the Chris Paul CP3 tournament that was held there on the Sports Utility Vehicle way back a couple years ago. Not a short drive.
I'm going to file that 4 a.m. drive under bad decisions never to be repeated. Georgia Tech holding the line after taking yet another face-off win. This keeps up. The Jackets are going to get back on the board, and will cut this deficit down to 2. Poking around back behind the net, quick wrist shot will go over the glass and hit the netting. We'll have yet another face-off. Things surprisingly serene on the ice through the first 8 minutes. There has been a little bit of physicality, but the tempers have not flared like we saw at points in the second period.
In that 4-minute stretch where we had all the fireworks and all the goals on all the power plays.
The face-off will be just outside the Georgia zone. McCrary this time loses the draw to Falkenstein, and Georgia once again can't clear the line. It's pinned in deep underneath Smith. The puck is loose back behind the net. They didn't know where it was. And Georgia Tech is still putting together an attack. We've seen a lot of that throughout this third period.
Now the UGA student section trying to get the fans back into this match.
Yeah, they're doing a great job of that. As Eric Moggy's rubbed up the puck with a nice hit from Eric Moore. Collecting it is Kaser, but it's being cleared by Moore, and the Jackets will send things back the other way. Defended nicely by Dixon Babb will keep Georgia Tech from going on the attack. The Jackets will change up lines behind the play. Georgia trying to set up an organized breakout, but some miscommunication leads to a turnover. Now Galley has it in deep for the Jackets. Eventually, Georgia coming away with the puck. Left wing, Peter Kaser. Watch him work his magic. Kaser, left wing, looking to throw it in front. Nope, goes right behind the net. Kaser just cannot be separated from that puck.
Brandon Goddard providing good defense, but Kaser hangs on to the puck.
Moggy banging with Omas back behind the net. Help comes in from Falkenstein. Falkenstein back to the point man. Held in there by Clayton Demirtas, who hasn't seen a lot of ice time here tonight. Quick wrist shot, it'll be taken away. Rebound, Moggy has it skated right through the slot. Feeding our man, I think that's Stephen Bray, who couldn't get a shot off in traffic. And instead, Georgia Tech will go back to the opposite direction. Jeremy Omas skating all the way in left wing as he demolishes a Georgia defender. And the Jackets trying to maintain some control and get a shot on net.
I think that was Demirtas who got demolished.
The Jackets controlling, back behind the end line, trying to feed someone in front, but they just can't get a man in position in the slot where they need him. Another quick, easy cover by Georgia netminder Kevin Smith. 10:28 left to go here in the third period. Georgia leading Georgia Tech by a score of 6-3.
And again, if you want season tickets to the Ice Dogs, call ClassicCenter.com, or that's where you point your web browser, or 706-357-4444. 4-4. 10:28 remaining as we get ready for a face-off to the right as we look at Kevin Smith. And it looks like, it looks like Georgia's going to switch out the man now. There's the face-off won by Georgia Tech. That's Wesley Gura. I'm sorry, that was Wesley Roberts who won it.
Well, now Georgia just trying to get that puck outside this end and kill off the second half of this third period to get that W and start this celebration in downtown Athens tonight. But the game isn't over yet as McCrary has a cannonading shot wide of the net. And now Georgia going in their way. It's a 3-on-0. Stephen Bray racing in. Lets a shot go. A great kick save by Michael Klein. Oh, he's let in 6 goals, but honestly, he has been magnificent at times tonight for the Jackets.
And I think they're waiting too long. They're waiting to see which way he will commit. I think they got to be more assertive, more attacking when they drive it down.
Now racing in over on the far left wing is Kyle Kidwell. And he's going to be rubbed off the puck fiercely by a Jacket, and they're trading some action behind the play. We might have our first fisticuffs of the evening. Nope, they're going to separate as Dixon Babb is getting into it with Alan Degassi. We've seen him get in the face of senior Robert Bradford earlier tonight. Keep your eye on number 7 for Georgia Tech. He is a wrecking ball, and he is looking to get into it with someone here tonight.
Alan Degassi, 5 goals, 10 assists.
But the Jackets need some goals more than anything else right now with 9 minutes remaining here in the third period. Tech's going to dump this around, play some dump and chase, but Georgia with a quick intercept in the Ice Dogs come charging up the ice. They got Georgia Tech caught up a little bit of a line change, skating all the way in, going to the backhand is Rogowski, and it goes just wide of the net. Great scoring chance there. This is taken by Alex French. French has it knocked away from him. Georgia starting to get very deep in their lines now, mixing things up, getting some good ice time so that everyone can play here in Athens Town tonight. Puck loose in the middle of the neutral zone. Georgia Tech chips it in. Back to get it is Jesse Soave, and we have a whistle, I believe, from an offside. With 8:26 left to go here in the third period, Georgia leading Georgia Tech 6-3. It's good to see Georgia coach John, who's emptying out the bench a little bit, letting everyone get a chance to get out there and soak in this capacity crowd. 2,100 plus. There is standing room only here as well for the first ever game in Athens, Georgia. So glad to be a part of that here tonight. So glad you could be a part of it with the webcast as well. Off the face-off, puck still pinned in deep inside Georgia's end. The Jackets need to switch up their strategy here because what they're doing right now just is not working. A lot of puck possession, but they're not getting quality scoring chances right now. As the puck is loose back behind the net, they're just currently getting tied up behind the net and trying to throw things into the slot where they don't have any players.
No, they
There's
don't.
a huge hit there behind the play by number 14, Michael Sand, and the Jackets are really starting to try to throw their weight around. Some of that frustration kicking in, the fact that they're down by 3 goals late in this game tonight.
Well, Nick Galloway's got a lot of weight to throw around. I think they need him to crash the net a little bit. And we saw an instance in the second period where Kidwell just camped out there. They couldn't dislodge him, and then when the shot came in, he was able to redirect it for a goal.
It's easier to do on a power play than it is when you're skating 5-a-side hockey, because that can lead to odd man rushes like when we saw Georgia have that 3-on-0 breakaway that was immediately shut down there by the talented netminder for Georgia Tech. And I tell you what, it was at times like that, I mean, a few flashes of brilliance from this Georgia Tech goalie, and again, I know that I'm a Georgia grad, so oftentimes it's hard to say a lot of good things about the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets.
But you're a goaltender.
But he has had a great game here tonight. He
Yeah,
has played exceptionally.
Michael Klein has played a wonderful game, and my point is, as a former goaltender, you can appreciate good performances behind the net.
Oh, absolutely. Puck is free in the middle of the neutral zone. It's a foot race. David Bacon will not win that race, and Georgia Tech goes back the other way. Colwright leading the charge, and he's leading it offside. 7:26 left to go in the third period. Georgia 6, Georgia Tech 3. Have you seen anything in the third period to sort of firm up your player of the game opinion tonight?
So far, no. I think both teams I think Georgia especially, they're trying to get at least one goal in here to possibly ice this matchup. But so far, Kaser and Kidwell tops on my list.
Well, you know, Kenny McCrary has been all over the place for Georgia Tech, but
Just
has not been the Jackets' night.
No, he just has not been able to get anything going.
As once again, Georgia Tech unable to have any sort of sustained attack with significant pressure and shots on net. Georgia continuing to repel them back into the middle of the neutral zone, and they'll take that all night long. Park racing in left wing, trying to work around Dixon Babb. Throwing it to the front, no one home. Georgia will take it away, and they may have numbers. 2-on-2, we go the other way. Racing in right wing is Austin Shin with a wrist shot, and a nice save made there by Klein.
Another good performance by Austin Klein. Yeah, I would say that maybe Wesley Roberts has probably had the best game for the Yellow Jackets.
You know, he has been all over the ice. He's played a physical game, and there have been scoring chances aplenty. And again, you're looking for role players, not just the guys who are going out there and lighting the lamp, but what a night for the Ice Dogs this evening. Everything has gone very much according to plan as we have a timeout called here on the ice. Thank you again so much for joining us here for this great presentation of the sports utility vehicle. A pleasure to work with them tonight. They've got this incredibly talented team here that, in case you've noticed, they've got 3 different cameras working out all the different angles here this evening, giving you the up-close shots, giving you a view from ice level, the wide views. They really have done an exceptional job with everything that they can control here tonight. I wish I could do a little better for them here this evening. My goodness, they have been just absolutely top-notch to work with, and I hope you guys have enjoyed the experience. Enjoying watching this from your homes or from your businesses. I've been told that there were a few different businesses that have pulled up this webcast and put it up on the full screen, and people who are unable to make it to the game are actually enjoying a few beverages and enjoying some food and watching it up on a big screen and just having a great time of things. That's the sort of thing that helps you build the community and really helps you appreciate everything that's going on here in the future of Georgia hockey.
Exactly. Marcus Burnett, Lisa Burnett, they have done another exceptional job covering this event.
Face-off is going to come to Klein's left. Draw one by the Yellow Jackets, and eventually it comes free, and we have a quick whistle. That's going to be for a hand pass, and the face-off we moved back deep inside the Georgia Tech end. You know, it is worth noting that for everything these kids do, and again, I talk so much about the ACHA and what it means to be non-varsity, in addition to having to pony up significant cost to play hockey, these kids have a very strict workout schedule, and they do a lot of good for the community. They go and speak at middle schools and show them what hockey's all about. Georgia hockey has been very active with Habitat for Humanity, so they've been a great representative in the community for what Georgia's all about. Moggy fighting for the puck back behind the net. Working on it with Mitchell Carr. Moggy fighting strong, getting that stick in there. Kaser came in to help out. Line held by Babb. Wrist shot goes well wide as it was deflected, and Georgia holding the line ever so narrowly. Omis has it. Trying to work it across over towards Park as they feed it up to Carr. Carr right wing. Dumps it across, and Georgia will just take it away. Georgia Tech not playing with a lot of life here in the third period as the puck heads out of play. 5:56 left to go in this contest. 6-3 Ice Dogs over the Yellow Jackets. And this third period has been a little bit slow, but if you got a 3-goal lead, that's perfectly fine.
That's fine if you just want to. It looks like that John Hoos has employing a keep away strategy.
Well, conservative hockey, there's certainly nothing wrong with that. You take the opportunities when you get them, but for the most part, you keep the defenseman back. You don't let any opportunities develop, and the slot has not been open all night long for Georgia Tech. They've been working the puck back behind the net and trying to feed pucks into the middle, and there's been nobody home. Here's Peter Kaser working in, dangling, and just crushed. A great hit by Alan DeGessie, and he has his stick slashed out of his hands as the puck is free near the Georgia Tech netminder. Watch out for DeGessie now. He has no stick, and now one of his teammates, a Ford, has dished it up. A quick shot kick save made there by Klein as Tech tries to clear. His bodies are falling all over the ice at this point. The Jackets finally do clear. I thought for a second there, boy, you know, when he had that stick slashed out of his hands, I thought DeGessie was going to be up to no good for a second, but my goodness, a great heads-up play by one of his forwards to give the stick to his defenseman. As a quick shot comes in, a nice save made there on the scoring chance from Wirtschel. As Georgia now getting some chances here on the attack. Eric Moore trying to end this Georgia forecheck, but he can't do it as Dixon getting some playing time now for the Ice Dogs. As Georgia Tech works it over on the far right wing, just trying to get it back inside the Georgia end. Floats down in deep, big collision forthcoming. That's Stiles meeting up with number 10, C.J. Lair. Another big hit right in front of us. It's Stiles and Lair getting together again. Garrett Stiles, the freshman from Michigan. Georgia holds the line into Alex French, who can't control it, and it'll be cleared by the Jackets.
Very dangerous play, but Jeremy Omas able to get it out of there.
4:20 left to go here in the third period. 6-3 Georgia leading Georgia Tech. Control once again by the Jackets. Mitchell Carr racing in, trying to get a shot off. Can't do it. Can they hold the line? Yes, they can. Big slap shot and a great glove save by Smith on the scoring chance from Wesley Roberts. We haven't seen Roberts wind up and really uncork one tonight. And boy, I tell you what, he had a cannon and a great opportunity for the junior netminder from Alpharetta, Georgia, to flash the glove for the Ice Dogs.
Well, Wesley Roberts already has one goal today, along with C.J. Lair and Eric Moore. Got one during that power play flurry.
Face-off is coming to Kevin Smith's right. In the circle, it's Ryan Krusko, who's the anchor of the power play unit for the Jackets, but we are currently at even strength. Jackets still controlling. They've been very good in the face-off circle all throughout the third period. Roberts holds the line, tries to send it back behind the net. Fought for by Cryan. Cryan in the corner being worked on by Soav. There's a big slap shot there by Degassi. It's going to go deflected wide of the net. It's tied up in the far corner. Georgia Tech again not skating with a lot of life out there at this point of the evening, with 3:35 left to go in the third period. Bodies starting to pile up in front of the Georgia net. Tech again trying to throw the puck in front, but they just don't have any players there as it's well defended by the Ice Dogs. Shelby Saponari starting the rush for Georgia. Racing in is Bray. A 2-on-1 developing over to Bacon, and it bounces over his stick. Bacon feeds it back down low to Bray. Bray over to Kidwell. Has it pop up on him? Can they hold the line? No, they cannot. Skated out by McCrary for the Jackets. McCrary, nice move. Tries to get around two players for Georgia. Can't do it. No penalty called. Georgia sends it back out to the middle of the neutral zone. Georgia Tech looking a bit discombobulated. Tired players skating off the ice. Perhaps conditioning a bit of a factor for the team coming in from Atlanta tonight.
Again, about a 2-month layoff after that matchup with Florida State to end the year.
Moore trying to start the rush back the other way for the Jackets. Just sends it in deep. And again, it'll be taken by Demirtas for Georgia. The Jackets trying to put together any kind of attack. Quick wrist shot doesn't make it through traffic. And the Jackets will control over on the far right wing. This almost looks like a bit of a convoluted Georgia Tech power play as they race in. Quick wrist shot right into the breadbasket on the Michael Sant wrister. And another nice save by Kevin Smith. Perfect positioning. Wasn't affected at all by the traffic. And covered up for the faceoff. 2:20 left to go here in regulation time before you can put a W on the board tonight in Athens, Georgia. And the celebration will spill out into downtown Athens. Face-off coming to Smith's left. Another face-off won by the Yellow Jackets. We don't have any numbers on that, but they've won probably at least 75% of the face-offs at least here in the third period. Omis holds the line again for the Jackets, working it back behind the net. Big hit laid on by Clayton Demirtas. As the Jackets are skating around but aren't really putting together any kind of a functional offense as the puck floats in on net and is covered up quickly by Kevin Smith, and some of the fans starting to head to the exits to get a jump start on the celebration. That's the nice thing about having a rink right here in Athens. You cross the street, all kinds of outstanding bars, restaurants, businesses. It really is in the heart of it all, and an easy 60-second walk away from campus if you're a student.
Well, I'd like to point out that there's a gentleman in the second row to our right who's wearing an old Buffalo Sabres jersey.
I love it. I thought he had a little LaFontaine action on the back as Bacon races in. Dangles a little quick wrist shot, misses the net. Can they hold the line? Yes, they will. It's Carlotto pushing it just wide of the net. 1:40 left to go in regulation. Bacon holds the line. Big hit right there by Sexton. Getting into things with his ice time. Brendan Sexton and Alan Degassi getting into it a little bit. Georgia controlling in the neutral zone. Under a minute 30 left to play in the game. DeGessie has it. He's going to try to go on a one-man attack up the right wing. Dishes it off. Quick shot by Krein, and another easy save for Kevin Smith.
Well, we're seeing a lot of the underclassmen now, the freshmen and the sophomores. They're trying to make a big play for playing time next season, show John Hoos what they can do with ice time, and hopefully be an integral part of this team when they face Florida on September 20th.
It's great because it's an opportunity for them to show what they can do, and also they get to be a part of Athens history here tonight as we turn the page to the next exciting chapter of Georgia ice hockey, as we once again have an official timeout here in the third period of action. Georgia 6 and Georgia Tech 3. This has been an amazing day from start to finish. I see a lot of happy faces everywhere we look here tonight. I can only imagine what's going to happen with the season ticket sales as we move ahead and start planning for next season. 20 home games is a lot. That is a tremendous schedule and a very ambitious schedule that Georgia is going to be undertaking next year. I'll be very curious to see what their road schedule is going to look like.
Yeah, we haven't seen the road schedule yet, and I'm looking over the schedule. We said there are about 2 weekends in the first 3 of the season where they're going to have home games: Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday the 26th of September, Saturday the 27th, Sunday the 28th. That first slate will see Auburn, Tennessee, and then the UGA alumni game.
And hey, those first 3 games right there, all conference games. And this is the opportunity for Georgia to redeem themselves. A miserable year in the SEC, just 1-7 in conference play. But again, like I said, this is a rebuilding year for Georgia, and they are going to reload and get back at it. We've had a change in net for Georgia as we continue to mix up some of the ice time. Number 37, Brandon DeRosa, sophomore from Atlanta, Georgia, is in net as the night is done for Kevin Smith. Kaser racing in, thought about the backhand. Nice shot, another great save by Klein, and he will cover up the puck. Running some numbers on Brandon DeRosa, he played in 6 games this year for Georgia, had a 6.95 goals against average and a save percentage of 84, just 1-2 on the season.
So I guess Kevin Smith will see his record go to 5-3.
You know what? That seems to be a safe assessment because there is 1 minute remaining in the third period. Georgia leading Georgia Tech 6-3. And you can put this one in the record books in due time as some of the physical play in the final minute has a chance to ramp up. But a lot of these Georgia Tech players just look absolutely gassed. Georgia has controlled a lot of the pace and a lot of the tempo in the second half of this third period. Big hit laid on by Kyle Kidwell back behind the net. Thrown in front to Kaser, nothing doing, and Georgia Tech goes the other way. 30 seconds remaining in the third period. Georgia Tech one last scoring chance. They scored in the final minute of the first and second periods, trying to do the same here in the third. Tech holding the line, 20 seconds left to play. Back behind the net, back to Galley. And the final 10 seconds will tick off the clock. What a night in Athens, Georgia, as the University of Georgia Ice Dogs have defeated the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Can we get one more on the board? Not quite. Our final score tonight, it's Georgia 6 and Georgia Tech 3. What a way to start life in Athens, Georgia, here at the Classic Center. The Dogs 1-0 in their brand spanking new venue in downtown Athens town tonight.
It's just a shame that we won't be here for another 5 months, but it's up to John Hoos to try and put some more building blocks together, keep the community involved, and he's got a great crew at the Classic Center to help him do that. Paul Kramer, of course, Larry Hall. A lot of people went into making this night a success, but the big story, the performance on the ice, this would have meant nothing if Georgia had come out and laid an egg, but they were psyched, they were pumped from start to finish. Georgia Tech, as you said it many times, Mike, they were gassed coming down that stretch. I wonder if conditioning was a factor. They hardly put up any fight in that third period. Another point I want to make before I turn it over to you, 2-2 even strength goals. The key part, that 4-minute flurry of power play opportunities right at the halfway part of this contest.
Georgia Tech is a very good, very respectable hockey team, and tonight they played 2 very competitive periods. They just didn't have it in the third, but my oh my, they were very competitive, and it was great to see Georgia and Georgia Tech be the very first game here in Athens, Georgia this evening. What a night. I'll tell you what, John, give me your pick for the player of the game tonight.
Well, we got to go with Peter Kaser, 1 goal, 2 assists. Put a sterling cap on his career here at the University of Georgia. For my second star, I'll go with Kyle Kidwell with 2 goals on his own. And for my third star, I'll go with Wesley Roberts, the defenseman from Georgia Tech. He had a goal, but he was in it from start to finish.
I think that's a very fair assessment from the word go. This is a very young Georgia team, as we mentioned, 10 sophomores, 9 freshmen. That's 19 underclassmen compared to just 7 upperclassmen, 3 seniors departing this team, and just 4 juniors as well. The future is bright for ice hockey at the University of Georgia, and it is even brighter now that we're playing games at the Classic Center in downtown Athens, as the team thanks their fans for coming out, a sellout crowd tonight for what has been an exceptional night. And what a fitting end, thanking this great crowd for taking some time to go out there and show their support and show their love for this great Georgia hockey team.
Yep, they're crashing into the boards. Fortunately, the boards are holding up off their all that heft. But again, a great night here. A sterling way to start the new era of Georgia hockey.
As we wind things down, there are a number of people that we definitely need to thank. And of course, we need to thank our outstanding sponsors, including the Georgia Hockey Booster Club. To find more information on how you can join the UGA Hockey Booster Club, go to UGAHockeyFoundation.com. Again, as we said time after time, when it's a non-varsity sport, they need the help. They need the assistance. So by all means, go to UGAHockeyFoundation.com to find out how you can support this team and support Georgia hockey in Athens for many, many years to come. We also want to thank our fine sponsor, Ameritrans, safely taking you the distance. And we want to thank this outstanding production team here from the sports utility vehicle coming from Atlanta, Georgia tonight to just do a great job. I tell you what, from start to finish, their cameramen have been top-notch. The production team, Marcus and his entire squad have been great to work with and have put on an excellent show this evening.
More fine work from them. Never disappointed when I work with them.
Well, you're working with you here tonight, and perhaps there'll be a little bit more Georgia hockey hitting the airwaves in the near future with 20 home games here at the Classic Center next year. Anything is possible. And of course, we want to thank all of you for listening this evening, for watching along on the webcast at UGAHockey.com and on YouTube. We certainly appreciate you taking some time out of the evening to do that tonight. So for John Morgo, I'm Mike Tingle saying thank you so much for listening. Put it in the record books. It's a win for the Georgia Ice Dogs in their first ever game at the Classic Center in Athens, Georgia. 6-3 Georgia over Georgia Tech. I'm Mike Tingle saying so long, everyone. Have a great night.
Happy birthday, Coach. That's not very many candles.
Oh, man. Great job tonight.
I hope I was able to carry my own weight here.
God, I sure didn't. Good Lord.
You were good. You were great, sir.
I kept getting caught in the radio of it all. I needed to be more TV and less radio. That was just irritating the hell out of me. God. Just irritating the hell out of me. But, it is what it is. I haven't slept in a long time.
Thanks again, Georgia fans, for coming out for the very first hockey game in